My brother and his wife had twins, a boy and a girl. They were unwilling to take care of the children. My mother used her poor health as an excuse, so I had to look after the twins starting from my freshman year of college. Later, after I got married and became pregnant, the twins heartlessly pushed me down the stairs. Who said you could have a child? You deserve to die. Auntie's fortune should have been ours all along. Mom was right. If Auntie has her own child, she'll abandon us. I went back to the day the twins turned 100 days old, a second chance at life. My mother beamed with joy as she held the baby boy for me to see. Celine, look, your nephew looks so much like you. I pushed it away without a second thought. He's my brother and sister-in-law's child. He should look like them, a boy and a girl. What a heavenly blessing for my brother and his wife. Our family became the talk of the neighborhood after the twins were born. Early in the morning, my mom's square dancing friends dropped by one after another, all eager to see our precious pair of twins. My brother Drake and his buddies went out for some social engagements. At home, it was just my mom, my sister-in-law, and me, spending my summer break there. My sister-in-law Monica was holding her 2 children, beaming with pride, looking as regal as an empress dowager. My mother showered Monica with praise in front of everyone, as if she had performed some monumental service for our family. Some families struggle just to have one grandchild, yet ours got both a boy and a girl all at once. What a tremendous blessing for our family. Nowadays, fewer young people are willing to get married, and having children has become even rarer. My mom suddenly had a pair of little bundles of joy, and it drove all the elderly folks in the neighborhood wild with envy. The elderly gathered around the children, pinching their cheeks and stroking them affectionately. Some even went so far as to sneak a little kiss. The baby boy whimpered in his swaddling clothes, drawing a round of chuckles from the guests. A child's skin is delicate. It's not good to touch them like that. In my past life, I was the one who saw it, stepped in to stop it, and ended up really upsetting my mom. This time, I said nothing. Well, Monica's the mother. If she's not saying anything, what business is it of mine? An unmarried, childless sister-in-law, the baby girl, who had been sleeping, was startled by the laughter and began to wail. My mother simply handed the baby to Monica, telling her to go soothe her in the other room so she wouldn't disturb the guests' enjoyment of admiring their precious grandson. Monica didn't say a word, just twisted a corner of the baby's blanket into a tight knot. In my past life, out of sympathy for my sister-in-law's struggles, I was the one who stepped forward and took the baby girl from her. Monica happily let go. From then on, she'd seize every chance to pout and say things like, I just can't seem to soothe her, she only wants her aunt, before expertly depositing both twins into my arms. This time, Monica's pleading gaze came flying my way. I remained completely unruffled, turned my back, and pretended not to see a thing. Behind her, Monica let out a heavy, disdainful snort, marched into the room, and slammed the door with a thunderous crash. The guests finally snapped out of their daze, and the atmosphere instantly turned awkward and deathly quiet. My mother, holding the baby boy, said with great magnanimity, It's truly not easy for a daughter-in-law after giving birth. I'm sure she didn't mean it just now. Please, everyone, don't take it to heart. The guests were all elderly folks who had lived long lives. Even if they caught the underlying meaning, they would just smile. The night after the guests left, the pair of flower drums became restless, too. No matter how we tried to soothe them all night, they just wouldn't stop crying. That's because when children get overly excited during the day, they often have trouble sleeping at night. But I pretended to be clueless, and Chloe squirmed in my arms like a fish out of water. Monica snatched Chloe away, shooting me a fierce glare in the process. My mother saw it all but kept her anger to herself. Monica and my mother were kept up until 1 or 2 in the morning. Drake had just stumbled back from a heavy night of drinking and was woken up from his sleep on the couch. Stop the crying already, it just won't end. How am I supposed to get any sleep? Rubbing his temples, Drake staggered into the room. Monica caught a whiff of the booze on my brother and flew into a rage. The child is crying like this, and you finally decide to come home, Drake said smugly. I've got a pair of great kids. Of course I gotta let the boys know how much of a stud I am. He talks as if he carried them for 10 months himself. Where does he get the nerve? My mother came out holding the baby boy, trying to break up the fight. What's all this shouting about? Huabang was perfectly fine during the day, and now look at him. Can't you parents just give it a rest? Drake shrugged indifferently, curling his lip. Isn't raising kids a woman's job? If you can't handle it, Monica, there's always my mom and my sister. Isn't there? My sister-in-law was instantly furious. Your mom and your sister, please, has your sister held the baby even once since I got home from the hospital? Your mom just invites a bunch of people over to gawk. What real help has she been? I'm the one doing everything, all by myself. I listened from the side, a cold sneer forming in my heart. From the time Monica went into labor right through her postpartum confinement, she had a professional maternity nurse taking care of her. With my mom they're helping too, other than feeding them. She never even holds the twins. The maternity nurse just took the day off today, but in Monica's version, my whole family is in the wrong. I looked up, my eyes pleading and hurt, towards my brother and his wife. Why is this my fault? Didn't mom and sister-in-law say I was too rough and might hurt my little nephew and niece? Drake's straightforward way of thinking actually came in handy. You're the mother and you can't handle it. So you're blaming my sister. A single college student with no kids of her own, my mom is getting on in years. She just asked an old neighbor to come over and watch the kids. What's the big deal? Monica, stop looking for trouble. Do I need to put you in your place? The brother and sister-in-law's shouting grew louder, while Hwabung's sobs became more heart-wrenching. Finally, my mother yelled out, "Enough, stop the noise, Jaden is burning up with fever." Standing on the balcony, I watched my brother's car speed out of the neighborhood, feeling an indescribable joy in my heart. 3. I just wonder how long they'll be able to enjoy such incredible good fortune. In my past life, my brother was unreliable, my mother was inattentive, so my sister-in-law solemnly entrusted the twins to me. Back then, I was only a freshman in college, with little life experience, yet I took on the heavy responsibility of caring for my nephew and niece. In my naivety, I thought my brother and sister-in-law entrusting their children to me was a sign of the family's high regard for me. Over the next decade, I helped the boy, Jaden, become a top student at a key primary school, while the girl, Chloe, used her dance talent to become a well-known contender in city competitions. My mother would boast to everyone that her grandchildren were a pair of gifted twins, a blessing from heaven and a stroke of good fortune for our family, but when I got pregnant myself and shared the good news with the family, their reaction wasn't the joy I had imagined. Monica even said with a hint of sourness, "I thought you were a child-free, marriage-free type, sister-in-law, so you do think about marriage and kids after all." I didn't respond to her. If it weren't for the twins she had, would I have let things with Leon slip away for all those years? The twins I had raised with my own hands were now looking at me with profound resentment. I had initially thought it was just a child's jealousy over a new baby stealing the parents' attention, but I never expected that as I was leaving the house, the twins would lead me to the stairwell. Then, with a forceful shove from them, I tumbled down the long flight of stairs. My leg is broken, my arm is likely dislocated. A stabbing pain shoots through my lower abdomen, and blood is pooling everywhere beneath me. The twins descended the stairs step by step, their faces held a cruel yet innocent curiosity. "Auntie, why aren't you dead yet?" I stared at them in shock, unable to utter a single word. Jaden grabbed a wooden stick from the hallway and brought it crashing down on my head, once, twice, 3 times, until I stopped moving. Chloe let out a long, deep sigh of relief. Thank goodness she's dead. Or we'd be in real trouble. Mom was right. Once Auntie has her own child, she won't want us anymore, Jaden said. "Auntie, who said you could have a baby? Serves you right for dying. Your money was supposed to be ours anyway. I hate going to cram school the most, and I hate it even more when you tutor me. And hey, little sister, don't you hate it when she stretches your legs?" Chloe chimed in happily. "I want Coke and fried chicken. Auntie's dead, so no one's gonna pin my legs down anymore." I died filled with endless regret and remorse. The body wasn't discovered until a week later. The twins locked the emergency exit doors on our floor, and the floors above and below. If it weren't for that young couple looking for their cat while apartment hunting, who knows how long it would have been before anyone found me. The young couple saw my decomposing body, and the smell alone was enough to make them gag. Despite being scared out of their wits, they still managed to call the police, trembling with fear. The police pulled the surveillance footage from the hallway. As luck would have it, the security camera for that entire month was out of order, so it didn't capture a thing. My family told the police that I was at home that day, being pressured about marriage, and the whole thing ended in a bitter argument. So, it's highly likely that I went to the stairwell to get some air. And in my distressed state, I missed a step, leading to the accident. As for why the stairwell door was locked, they also claimed to have no knowledge of it whatsoever. Leon could never come to terms with the idea that I died in an accident. He didn't even know we had a child together. Now that I'm back in this life, I'm going to see just how charmed the lives of that precious twin boy and girl must be. To have been paved with the lives of me and my child as stepping stones for their glorious future. Early in the morning, still half asleep, I heard my mom come home to grab something, for, when I asked, I found out Jaden had a high fever. It nearly turned into pneumonia. As I pressed for more details, my mom's eyes noticeably darted away. It was probably because the doctor was furious upon hearing that a stranger had touched Jaden's face and hands during the day. Infants have very weak immune systems. Adults carry invisible bacteria and viruses, which can easily be transmitted through skin contact. I remember Uncle Joe, who was visiting our home, had a chronic cough. My mom had given up explaining and told me to hurry to the hospital to help. How could I possibly pass up a chance to watch the drama unfold? We finally arrived at the hospital. Drake was leaning against the windowsill smoking when a nurse came over and told him to stop, so he had to put it out when he saw my mom and me. He acted completely indifferent. My mom was about to go into the ward when Drake quickly grabbed her arm. Jaden's in this room, and Chloe's had an accident too. She's in another ward. My mother frowned. What happened to Chloe? She rolled off the bed and dislocated her arm. Compared to Jaden's illness, it was even more bizarre that Chloe somehow managed to dislocate her hand right there in the hospital, after all. A baby girl who can roll over at just 100 days old, now that's a little prodigy. While Jaden's room was filled with people fawning over him, little Chloe only had me watching over her by the bedside. The nurse changing the dressings murmured, "What a tragedy. How could the parents of such a tiny baby be so careless as to let her shoulder get dislocated?" I gazed at the infant's tender, sleeping face and remembered the beautiful 10-year-old girl from my past life, who had said to me in her sweet, childish voice, "Auntie, I can dance Swan Lake now. One day, I'm going to be the principal dancer and perform Swan Lake on the grandest stage abroad." Chloe's arm development will be affected in this life. I wonder if she'll ever be able to dance as the White Swan now. I'm really looking forward to it. Auntie, in my past life, after I died, 5, my spirit remained suspended in midair, watching as my family spun every possible lie and covered up every trace to protect the twins. After my bizarre and gruesome accident in the old house, the neighborhood was thrown into a panic. Most residents chose to move away, and property values took a hit for a while. My brother and his wife could then brazenly seize my new house and all my savings, moving in with their twins as if it were their own. On the day they moved in, I watched the twins' faces beaming with joy. Not a trace of guilt or fear to be found. My mother said, "Hurry up and move out. The old house has bad feng shui. Don't ruin Jaden and Chloe's fortune." Monica planted her hands on her hips and said arrogantly, "Exactly, Mom. It takes someone with your strong presence to keep the bad feng shui of the old house in check." "What are you implying?" My mother was stunned. "What do you mean?" "My idea. It's Drake's too. Celine's place only has 3 bedrooms. There's no way it can fit everyone. You should just stay put in the old house. The twins will come visit you often." Of course, my mom refused. She grabbed Monica's hand tightly and wouldn't let go. "That's my daughter Celine's house. What gives you the right to tell me I can't live here?" Monica said with a sneer. "Your daughter is dead. Who's going to back you up now? The Sue family fortune belongs to my son and daughter from now on. You old hag, what are you even fighting for?" My mother shook her head desperately. "No, you can't do this." Monica gave a dismissive laugh. "Why not? How did Celine and Leon break up all those years ago? Didn't you help lie about that? You just want your daughter to sacrifice her marriage so she can devote her life to you and your grandchildren, don't you? Well, you got your wish. Why won't you let go now?" "So, my first breakup with Leon, my mother had a hand in that, too." My brother, growing impatient, came up to hurry us along and witness the scene. "Mom, why must you do this? If you want to do right by me, just let us go. At least the family fortune stays in the family. Celine's assets will still go to the twins." My brother and his wife left in a huff, taking the twins with them. All that was left was my mother, sobbing uncontrollably before my portrait. "Celine, I know how you died. It was my fault." But for all her crying, my mother still didn't tell the police the truth. "Such is the family bound to me by blood. They owe me, big time. And they're going to pay it back." By the time the twins were discharged from the hospital, both Monica and Drake looked utterly exhausted and drained. 6. In my past life, once the baby turned 100 days old, they left to run their business, constantly away socializing and never home. My mom, on top of that, always used her poor health as an excuse, calling me home to babysit every single time I had a day off. It's quite a challenge for an unmarried, childless college student like me. Searching on my phone for how to scientifically feed an infant, under my care, the twins have hardly needed to visit the hospital. Now, in this lifetime, it's a rare blessing to have their parents and children all gathered together, 3 generations sharing family bliss, and that's all thanks to me stepping back. Now, how is that not a credit to me? My brother and his wife are probably worn out from arguing by now. Perfect time for me to go stir the pot. Drake went to get the car, while Monica and I stood at the main hospital entrance, each holding a child. Monica had nothing to say to me, yet I spoke as if with a troubled heart. "Sis, please don't be angry. My brother going out for business dinners is for the family's sake. It's tough out there in the business world, even though some kind people are taking him under their wing to show him the ropes. Well, he did marry you, so it's not like he's getting too carried away." Monica's eyebrows shot up in anger. "What are you implying? Are you saying your brother regrets marrying me?" I stammered. "No, that's not what I meant, but isn't networking and meeting people just part of doing business? Don't you hate it when my brother has to socialize for work all the time?" A seed of suspicion took root in Monica's mind. Sure enough, when we got home, my brother was getting ready to go out again. Monica didn't try to stop him. Instead, she quietly followed him, in a private KTV room. She was shocked to see a flirtatious woman brazenly settling onto Drake's lap. Their argument got so heated, they ended up taking it to the police station. My mom must have had a real headache, rubbing her temples as she said, "You fought after getting married, and now you're still fighting after having kids. Will things ever get better?" I pretended to be terrified and secretly poked the twins, who immediately burst into loud wails. "That's more like it. Now that's what I call a lively home. There's no way my brother and his wife are getting a divorce." 7. Monica's family is quite ordinary, and they seem to favor their son-in-law over their own daughter, so their words are always nudging them toward reconciliation. The twins were just born. How could we possibly get a divorce now? Besides, Monica has no solid proof that Drake actually cheated, in Drake's own words. Who doesn't have to play the part when they're out socializing for work, if we all just stayed home with our wives and kids? Do you think money would just fall from the sky? After that incident, the atmosphere at home was so tense you could cut it with a knife. Any joy from the heaven-sent blessing of twins had completely vanished. Thankfully, summer break was almost over, so I seized the chance to escape back to school. Because Monica had angered Drake, the postpartum nanny they'd hired wasn't renewed when her contract ended, he said. "I think you just have too much time on your hands. You should stay home and look after the kids, don't meddle in the business outside anymore." My mom has completely checked out, still dancing in the square every day without fail, and acts like holding her own grandkids gives her a rash. My brother, whether he's genuinely swamped or just making excuses, has been coming home even less. I swear I will never get involved with the twins again for the rest of my life. Let their own parents raise them. But it didn't take long before Monica couldn't take it anymore and called me. "Celine, come home this weekend and help look after your niece and nephew. I'm exhausted." "Celine, why are you even bothering with university? Is college more important than your own niece and nephew? They're your family's bloodline." I didn't reply to a single message. Monica must have realized threats weren't working, so she switched to offering incentives. She specifically sent me 300 yuan via WeChat. "Celine, you are the twins and after all, shouldn't you come back for a visit? Your nephew and niece miss you." "Miss me? More like you miss having me back as the babysitter." "Ha, $300 might get you a part-time cleaner, but a live-in nanny who also does all the housework? No way." What is Monica thinking? Is she dreaming? I took a screenshot of the chat and sent it to Drake. Drake's attitude was completely indifferent. "Celine, how busy can you possibly be at university? Your niece and nephew call you auntie, come home and lend a hand." Then they sent me another $700. Typical capitalist, addicted to exploiting labor, aren't they? I took the money, but I sure didn't go home. After my past life, they still expect me to be their free workhorse. In their dreams, I didn't return home until winter break, dragging a half-empty suitcase behind me. 8. The moment I stepped inside, I was completely stunned. Monica was raising the twins like they were prize pigs. They were clearly overweight for their age, sluggish in their reactions, with a dull, vacant look in their eyes, none of the lively intelligence they'd possessed in their past lives. Monica, however, was inordinately proud. "Look how adorably chubby Jaden and Chloe are. When it really counts, they have to rely on me. Anyone else would have let them starve by now." I ignored the passive-aggressive jab in her words and instead smiled, saying, "My sister-in-law managed to raise twins all by herself, and they're doing so well. I see other families in the neighborhood needing several people just to take care of one child. I used to think raising kids was a huge hassle." My mom chimed in at just the right moment. "Your sister-in-law really is something. I can't even get involved when I try to help. I worry she might not like it." Monica's face flushed red. With each of us taking a turn, she was left feeling completely cornered. How could she not be upset? "Drake is back. Go hold the baby." As soon as he picked him up, he was taken aback by the weight and muttered, "Is Jaden too heavy? Brother Dong's child is 3 months older than ours, and he's not this heavy." Monica had just been scolded during the day, so she was even more short-tempered with Drake. "What's wrong with being sturdy? Is being lighter the only thing that pleases you? It's your own debauchery that's left you weak and useless." That single remark was enough to make Drake see red. They had a blazing row, ending with the father slamming the door on his way out, leaving the terrified twins wailing. Monica, wiping away her own tears, proceeded to give both children a sound spanking. "Cry, cry, cry. Why don't you just cry yourself to death?" When I got home this time, as expected, my bedroom was cluttered from the bed to the floor with the twins' belongings. Just as well, the half-empty suitcase was meant for packing up my own things anyway. I've long since stopped feeling any attachment to this house. After Drake left, Monica managed to get both kids settled down. 9. I didn't hear a peep from the kids until the next morning. My mom also remarked with surprise, "Jaden's usually starving by now. And Chloe's being awfully quiet too." I knocked on the door, and Monica answered. yawning widely. So now you care about the kids' schedule. They take after me. If I like to sleep in until noon, then they get to sleep in until noon. At that, I fell silent. My mother stormed off with a face like thunder to go square dancing. By the time Drake came home that evening, the twins were still fast asleep. It was only then that the whole family realized something was wrong and rushed the child to the hospital. The doctor's examination revealed alcohol poisoning. Monica was sobbing uncontrollably and took a long time to admit it. She had mixed alcohol into the milk bottles for both children, and it was strong, hard liquor. The child refused to drink, yet they forced it down their throat. No wonder they fell unconscious. Drake slapped Monica hard across the face. Even a vicious tiger doesn't harm its own cubs. Look what you've done to the child. Monica was grappling with him. If you hadn't fired the nanny, and your mother and sister refused to help, would I have resorted to giving the child Baijiu? I just wanted them to go to sleep quietly. Did she understand, or didn't she? Regardless of her understanding, the harm the alcohol caused the child is irreversible. Drake shoved Monica away. Weren't you the one complaining my mom doesn't know anything, that she curses at the drop of a hat? And what about you trying to make my sister skip college to babysit for you? Did you think I'd never find out? You're quick to blame my family? But what about yours? They're nowhere to be found, and that's why you're struggling with the kid. Monica was shoved to the ground and could do nothing but cry. The doctors and nurses wore expressions of utter dismay, and it took the security guards a great effort to finally separate the two. My mother stood in the hallway, shaking her head with a sigh. What a tragedy. How did our family ever come to this? I stood guard in the hospital room, looking at the two children's plump, piglet-like faces, and smiled silently. This time, I will not interfere and will let nature take its course. Let's see how these two little piglets will grow and thrive under their own parents' care. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. I'm about to graduate from college, and the twins are old enough for kindergarten. 10. Over the years, the atmosphere in the neighborhood has completely changed. As my mom's dance friends gradually became grandparents, the novelty of having twins in the family wore off for everyone. This has left my mom feeling quite down. The elderly lady no longer enjoys taking the twins to the neighborhood playground. The reason is that the twins have become quite overweight. They weigh twice as much as other children their age, appear sluggish and dull, and their speech is unclear. Naturally, the other children are reluctant to play with them. Monica placed immense importance on her twins and carried an inexplicable air of superiority. She went door to door, hands on her hips, and berated them. What's so great about your kids anyway? Why won't they play with my Jaden and Chloe? Our twins are heaven-sent blessings. We're practically stooping to your level by letting them play with yours. After Monica's little scene, my mom ended up getting the cold shoulder from the whole dance troupe when she came back to see the twins. She was absolutely fuming. Back then, the twins, who were her pride and joy, completely wore her out. Some people even suggested the kids should lose a little weight. Monica remained as confident as ever, insisting there was absolutely nothing wrong with the child she was raising. A little chubby is good. It means the child is sturdy. They won't even fuss if they take a tumble. My twins are blessed with good fortune. That's why they're as plump and happy as little mascots. What's the rush to start talking? As the old saying goes, still waters run deep. I just smiled and said nothing. If you bring a child into the world, you raise it yourself. Whatever they turn out to be is on them. That day, I only went home to get my documents because I needed them for my university graduation paperwork. That's great. Throughout my university years, I spent every holiday working part-time jobs away from home, all to avoid having anything to do with that family. 11. Monica leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching me pack up the last of my things. Celine, you've graduated. It's time to start thinking about settling down. Wasn't she just trying to set me up with that older, unmarried cousin of hers who still lives at home? In my past life, she was the one who told my mom about me and Leon. I can't be bothered with her. My whole family made a huge deal out of Leon being from out of town, as if they were guarding against me getting swept up in a romantic frenzy and eloping with him one day. Little did they know, Leon had already been accepted into our university's graduate program. His career path could only advance if he stayed at the local research institute. Going back to his hometown was out of the question. Even so, my mother insisted I break up with Leon, going so far as to lock me in the house to make it happen. Drake went straight to Leon and convinced him to leave town. Monica also used a fabricated breakup message to make me give up hope, to keep me providing affectionate support for their twins. My brother and sister-in-law didn't hesitate to destroy my relationship with Leon. It wasn't until years later, when Leon and I met again, that I discovered the deception my family had orchestrated, Leon said with shame. Your brother showed me that photo of you with your niece and nephew. He said blood is thicker than water, and that I shouldn't come between you and your family. I know how much you adore your niece and nephew. Whenever we're together and you talk about them, your eyes just light up with so much love. I really can't ask you to make such a huge sacrifice for me. I do dote on and love those two kids very much. For those 10 years, they might not have been my biological children, but for all intents and purposes, they were just like my own. But they are monsters. They use their innocent, childlike faces to deceive me, making me pour my heart and soul out for them. The moment they heard I was getting married and starting a family, they couldn't wait to see me dead, all for the sake of a new house their parents promised and a life of freedom without my guidance. They completely disregarded all the years of care, nurturing, and love I devoted to raising them. I suppose I just expected too much from my own family. If you can reap the rewards without the work, who would choose to bend down and harvest the grain, with parents so selfish and deceitful? Is it any wonder their child has the face of a bandit? Seeing Monica pull the same old trick again. If I don't take her down, how could I face my past life? At the dinner table, Monica kindly brought up my life's great matter. My mother looked at me with renewed expectation. 12. Celine graduated from a top-tier university, so you really must be selective about your partner. Monica's expression changed. Just hearing that, you should know her good-for-nothing cousin is a total embarrassment, right? I deliberately steered the conversation toward the twins. Mom, I haven't even graduated yet. Shouldn't the most pressing matter right now be getting Jaden and Chloe into preschool? A look of sudden understanding dawned on my mom's face. By the way, the twins are 4 now. It's time for them to start preschool. I turned to look at Monica. Have you picked out a preschool for them, sis? Is everything ready for their enrollment? Under our collective gaze, Monica steeled herself and said, we've decided. It's the same international kindergarten that Brother Dong's kid goes to. I raised my voice a notch. An international kindergarten? Huh, does that mean the entrance assessment is in English? Monica only has a vocational school diploma. What could she possibly know about education systems, exams, and admissions? She'd rather put on a brave face than admit she's struggling. Absolutely, Jaden and Chloe are so bright. English is a breeze for them. They'll ace the kindergarten entrance test for sure, I said with a warm smile. You're absolutely right, sis. Not everyone is blessed with twins, and Jaden and Chloe are clearly brilliant. Who knows? The principal might find them so adorable they skip the test altogether. Flattered by the praise, Monica turned her gaze toward the twins, her eyes brimming with affection. Her hand rested on Jaden's head, caressing it as if it were a glowing gold ingot. That's right, I've built you and the twins up so high, now you simply must take a fall. When Drake returned, Monica brought up the matter. Drake actually went to get advice from that Brother Dong, and came back to have a huge blowout with Monica. 13. Do you even know what an international kindergarten is? What kind of assets do the other parents have, and foreign languages? The twins can barely string a few sentences together. How could they dare to go for an interview? Monica is fearless in her ignorance. What's the big deal about money? You're out there making a fortune every day, but you're too cheap to spend it on your own child. If you won't let me sign them up, I'll do it anyway. She found out the annual tuition was $200,000 to $300,000. But she pushed her way in and insisted on filling out the application form. Since the twins didn't have a prior appointment, the kindergarten staff asked her to present some relevant documents. Monica simply didn't understand. She nudged Jaden forward and said impatiently, what documents do you need? My child is right here. Look how clever he is. If you admit him and he gets into Tsinghua or Peking University someday, your kindergarten will be basking in the glory. The parents and staff present could only exchange bewildered glances. In the end, Monica and the twins were, of course, escorted out. The twins failed their kindergarten entrance assessment, and Monica scolded them right there on the street until they were both wailing. She sent me dozens of long voice messages on her phone. 14. I didn't listen to a single one. Drake also called to confront me. Celine, did you deliberately sweet-talk your sister-in-law into going to that international kindergarten completely unprepared? She made a fool of herself, came home in a rage and started smashing things. You need to go back and apologize to her right now. Monica's own stupidity is to blame, yet she's trying to pin it on someone else. I coldly distanced myself from the situation. Didn't I mention there might be an English interview? It was my sister-in-law who said, Jaden and Chloe are so clever. It'll be fine. Not only do they interview the child for the kindergarten entrance assessment, but the parents have to go through an interview too. Did your sister-in-law not take you? Drake was momentarily speechless. He never agreed to sending the kid to some fancy international kindergarten in the first place, so how would he know about all these complicated procedures? Just go home for now and apologize to your sister-in-law. I'm run off my feet all day with work. And now I have to deal with you women's drama on top of it, and with that, they hung up. Fine, got it, he's gotten addicted to being a hands-off boss, and now he expects me to be his personal firefighter at home too. The nerve of him. Some things never change. The mere thought of how he and Monica seized the bulk of my fortune in my past life instantly ignited a blaze of fury within me. Since they started it, I'm absolutely going to give them a little present they'll never forget. 15. I cross-referenced the timeline from my previous life. Apart from the twins' different growth paths, Drake's small business is still just scraping by, much like it was in his previous life. All these years, Drake has been trying to cozy up to a big shot known as Brother Dong. His goal is to land a few more contracts or get some insider tips from him, but with little to show for it. Drake recently hatched a new plan, sister-in-law diplomacy. Drake put all his lifelong expertise in wooing women to work, helping Brother Dong strategize. They were planning a birthday party for Brother Dong's young wife, to be held at the city's famous Mountain Spring Hot Springs Hotel. To maintain the element of surprise, Brother Dong didn't show himself. Instead, a few of the young wife's close girlfriends were tasked with guiding her to the hotel, unbeknownst to her. The hotel had already decorated a banquet hall for a wedding ceremony, just waiting for the young wife to be led by her friends to this surprise venue. So much meticulous planning, time to the second, all leading up to the moment the grand hall doors would swing open. But when the doors were pulled back and the lights flooded in, the assembled guests did not see the young mistress's face alight with joyful surprise or tears of happiness. Instead, they witnessed Monica straddling her, furiously slapping her face back and forth with both hands. Her friends were completely stunned, even pulling and dragging together. They were no match for Monica's explosive combat power. Honey, sis, Brother Dong and Drake rushed to the doorway one after the other and hauled their respective wives over. The young wife threw herself against Brother Dong's chest, her face swollen like a pig's head. Honey, you have to stand up for me. This crazy woman attacked me the moment she saw me. Monica was struck as if by lightning. Aren't you the other woman? Drake slapped her across the face to teach her a lesson. Are you out of your mind? This is Brother Dong's wife. The young mistress, who had been the other woman before marrying up, started crying even more hysterically upon hearing this. Old Dong, how can you let them insult me like this? I gave you my youth. We got married. I bore your child, and now I have to listen to this. I can't go on living. Brother Dong flew into a rage and started yelling at Drake and Monica. Drake, you son of a bitch, is this the surprise you planned for me? Did you set up this whole big scene on purpose to humiliate me and my wife? Monica was shaking like a leaf. Drake quickly said, It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Brother Dong sneered coldly, your wife assaulted someone in broad daylight today, and everyone saw it. There will be no more business between us, ever. I'm suing you. Get ready for court. 16. You can't even control your own wife, and you think you can make money. Drake became a laughingstock in his own circle, having offended a big shot like Brother Dong. Not only were major deals out of the question, but even existing partners refused to renew their contracts upon expiration. The performance of his small company took a nosedive straight into the red. Drake flew into a rage, beat Monica, and threatened to divorce her, if you hadn't been so paranoid. None of this would have happened. Monica knew she was in the wrong, but holding her twins felt like clutching a lifeline. Get a divorce, in your dreams. If you weren't fooling around every day, would I have even mistaken someone for your mistress? Let me make this clear. If you don't want your two kids to lose their mother, you'll pay up to keep me out of trouble. Otherwise, I'll kill myself along with the twins. Let's see if any woman would dare marry you for the rest of your life. With that, she actually grabbed one twin in each hand, making their little arms and legs flail helplessly. In the end, Drake had to pay Brother Dong a hefty sum to settle the matter. Monica, however unwilling, was dragged over and had her cheeks slapped bloody by the young mistress before it was finally over. I remained completely undetected the entire time. They could rack their brains all day and never figure out it was me. All I did was send Monica a few photos of Drake at the foot massage parlor in the beginning. Monica immediately became restless. Everything else unfolded as it had in the previous life. Monica had placed a relative in the company, but it wasn't a position of any real importance. During that period, Drake was rarely at the office as he was busy planning a surprise birthday party, let alone revealing anything there. As soon as that relative got the address of the Mountain Spring Hot Springs Hotel, they sent it to Monica. At the hotel, Monica saw the name Xiao Shaozi on a poster in the flower hall. She found the person and asked, Do you know Drake? My sister-in-law blurted out that she knew him, and for that, she got a beating for no reason. In my past life, it was my timely arrival that prevented the misunderstanding. This time, I was quite pleased to see my brother and his wife drag each other down into the pit. 17. After graduation, I received offers from several companies I really wanted to work for. To get away from my family, I deliberately chose to work for a foreign company in Shanghai. My mother didn't want me to leave. How can you bear to go so far away? Aren't you afraid I'll miss you? I just smiled and gently pulled my hand from her embrace. Mom, with my brother and his wife at home, plus the twins, when would you even have time to miss me? My mother fell silent. In my past life, I did have better opportunities after graduation, but for the sweet plea from the twins, Auntie, please don't go, Grandma is getting old, and Mom and Dad are always fighting, you're all we have, I stayed. So, what did I end up with in the end? Rotting away in some dark, closed-off stairwell. If it weren't for needing that college degree, I would have left this town years ago, 18, less than 2 months into the new school year at kindergarten. Jaden broke his leg while playing on the slide with other children. Monica has a fiery temper. She immediately stormed into the kindergarten, demanding to review the security footage to find the culprit, threatening to call the police and report that someone was trying to harm her Jaden if they refused. In this life, the twins attended a rather average kindergarten with limited resources, so the staff's attitude was quite dismissive, no matter how the teacher tried to explain. Monica simply wouldn't let it go. Finally, the teacher shot back, if you're so capable, let your son speak for himself. Monica's gaze returned to the pair of chubby, slow-witted twins she was raising. Jaden and Chloe were already 4 years old, but they still couldn't string a coherent sentence together. Little sister, play with me, push, it wasn't me, it was my sister. Monica couldn't get a straight answer out of them, but she was never one to take things lying down. They then called the city TV's public mediation hotline and stormed into the kindergarten with a full camera crew in tow. Only then did the kindergarten principal, in no particular hurry, release the surveillance footage from that day. The footage clearly showed that no one was playing with Jaden, and Chloe was swinging on a nearby swing set. It was Jaden who lost his balance and fell off the slide. The principal stated on camera that they were willing to cover part of the medical expenses, but the school would no longer consider admitting children with intellectual disabilities. I saw that program online. For 1 second, the blurring in the edit didn't cover it properly. In the footage, Jaden and Chloe were hugging, their eyes vacant, with thick mucus running from their noses. They genuinely looked like they had severe intellectual disabilities. Who could possibly recognize them as the brilliant twins from their past life now? 19. Over the years, it wasn't as if no one had raised concerns about the twins, but Monica had shot down every single one. They're twins, a blessed gift from heaven. How could there possibly be anything wrong? You're all just jealous of my children. The situation had escalated to such a degree that Drake immediately took the twins to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor said that Jaden and Chloe were experiencing developmental delays in the brain, likely due to prolonged confinement in a relatively isolated environment, and were already showing signs of aphasia. Drake was completely stunned. Then, as if remembering something, he went home and checked the surveillance footage. Apart from going to kindergarten, the twins just stay in their room at home. The other kids in the neighborhood think the twins are chubby and odd, so no one wants to play with them. As a result, for most of the day, Monica is glued to her phone, leaving the kids to play by themselves. But the moment the children make a sound, their own mother snaps at them. Even when my mom called them for dinner, Monica would still make sarcastic remarks for ages. Over time, no one in the house dared to speak much. If this goes on, it's no wonder the twins are becoming withdrawn. What surprises me is, with all this drama, my brother and his wife still haven't gotten a divorce. 20. My mom called me to vent. Celine, it's all your sister-in-law's fault. She's raised a child who can't even speak properly, and now she's trying to cover it up. I was more than happy to play dumb. Having twins was supposed to be our family's greatest blessing. How did it come to this? My mother sniffled and sobbed for a while before she finally spoke. Your brother's business is struggling. He lost a huge sum of money to Mr. Dong before. Your sister-in-law has never earned a penny, and now the twins need rehabilitation therapy. Celine, you're at a big company now. Could you possibly, how dare a middle-class couple with a house, cars, a stable career, and the audacity to have twins come asking for money from a fresh graduate like me? What nerve, I said, my voice trembling as if I were about to cry. Mom, at least my brother and his wife have a house and cars. I've been working for less than 6 months. What could I possibly have? My mother asked in surprise, but I heard your salary is over 10,000 a month. Your sister-in-law said you could buy an apartment in Shanghai after 3 years at that foreign company. I let out a bitter laugh. Mom, didn't she also say the twins were gifted geniuses who could get into that international kindergarten? Did they? My mother sighed, but she wasn't ready to give up. Celine, please, just help your brother and his wife out, Mom. Do you have any idea how small my rental apartment in the suburbs is? Do you know how packed the subway is during my commute, or how long it takes me to get to work? Do you know how many interns from my batch are fighting for the same full-time position? Mom, have you ever even asked me if I'm doing okay? In the past, I never told my mom about the hardships I faced out in the world, because I knew I wouldn't get any sympathy or understanding from her. Fine, but I'm going to say it anyway. If it doesn't earn me any understanding or sympathy, so be it. Let it make her uncomfortable. My mother paused, then dropped her ultimate bombshell. Celine, you're the twins' aunt. They share half your blood. Blood is thicker than water. If you abandon them, you'll pay for it. I thought of the murky, thick blood that had spread beneath me after I fell down the stairs in my past life. I don't owe them a damn thing. Any fortune or misfortune should rightfully fall upon their biological parents. I slammed the phone down in anger. A faint thought surfaced in my heart. I don't owe them a thing, but they owe me, and my unborn child's life. How can they ever repay that? 21. Not long after, I got a video call from my mom. My elderly mother lay in the hospital bed, her eyes brimming with tears as she looked at me. The corner of her mouth trembled slightly, as if she had suffered a stroke and couldn't speak. My brother and sister-in-law said that if I didn't come back now, I'd never see my mother again, but when I did return, my brother and sister-in-law first took me back to their house. From the moment I stepped inside, the twins just stared at me. After 6 months, the twins were still short and chubby, and their speech hadn't improved much either. They had even tried things like counseling sessions, but it seemed to have little effect. Once, in a moment of desperation, Monica foolishly trusted some dubious folk remedy from the countryside. She forced the so-called herbal medicine down Jaden's throat, which led to poisoning and a trip to the hospital for stomach pumping. Jaden is listless and vacant now, and while Chloe is a little better, it's only by a small margin. Anyone who sees these two children can't help but sigh with pity. Even I never imagined that the consequence of letting things slide would be the twins turning out like this, but then again, at least they are still alive and well. Unlike my own child who never saw the light of day, Drake went out, saying he was going down to the garage to get something. Monica went to the kitchen and poured me a drink, but she seemed really uneasy. My gut told me something was definitely wrong. I went to the bathroom and called my boyfriend, Leon. He's still in grad school locally and is well aware of my family's situation. I told him that if he didn't see me downstairs at my place in an hour, he should call the police immediately and report an unlawful confinement. I had just stepped out of the bathroom when Drake came up from behind and pressed a drugged cloth over my mouth. Just before I blacked out, the twins spoke. The girl stammered with a laugh. Heh, auntie, dizzy, money, it's ours. The boy also cheerfully repeated, it's ours, it's ours. Their voices were clear and childlike, yet sent a chill down one's spine. Whether clever or foolish, if the nature is black, how can it ever turn white? 22. The police burst in while I was in the bedroom, half undressed. My brother and his wife sold me to her cousin, that lifelong failure and moocher, after his parents died, came into a sizable inheritance. After crossing Brother Don, Drake was set up and ended up deep in debt. This cousin of mine is already 40 and has never been with a woman, so they set a trap to lure me back, intending to offer me up as a gift to my cousin, wanting to see what a highly educated woman was like, casually promised them a sum of money that could cover half of Drake's debt. Meanwhile, my mother, who claimed to be on her deathbed, was at the police station viciously yanking Monica's hair. It's all your fault, you bitch. Your stupid idea got my son killed. Monica shoved her away and spat. If you weren't in on it, how could you have helped trick Celine into coming back? If I'm a bitch, then you're a goddamn hypocrite, selling out your own daughter while pretending to be righteous. Disgusting. Listening to them tear each other apart from the other room, I felt my blood run cold. In my past life, I had money, and they plotted to kill me for it. Now in this life, seeing I haven't made much, they're trying to suck me dry instead. What kind of monsters are they? Leon pulled me into his arms. I'm here, Celine. Don't be afraid. I wiped away my tears and gave him a smile in return. I won't be afraid anymore. They can't hurt me again. This time, the evidence is ironclad. There's no way I'm writing a letter of leniency. My brother, his wife, and that lecherous cousin of ours can just wait to rot in jail. But as I stepped out of the room, my mother struggled over from a distance and ran towards me. In front of everyone, she dropped to her knees, pressed her palms together high above her head, and began kowtowing to me. Celine, if your brother goes to prison, our whole family is finished. Please, spare your brother. It was all your sister-in-law's idea. The twins call you auntie. You can't leave them without a father. Leon tried to help my mother up first, but she refused and kept kowtowing to me. I stared at her coldly until she finally looked up. Our eyes met. My coldness must have provoked her. Celine, I'm begging you on my knees. Why won't you agree? I spoke slowly. Mom, if I were dead, Would you also kneel and bow before my portrait? In my past life, I had already witnessed her repentance after being abandoned by her children and grandchildren. Does she really think that kind of self-righteous hypocrisy and grandiosity is what motherhood is? Unfortunately, I was never a beneficiary of her so-called maternal love, so it means nothing to me. Mom, you shouldn't be kneeling to me. You should be kneeling before the law, or before my late father. You're always asking why this family turned out this way. Well, I'd like to ask you something too. Why is it that when my brother ran out of money, his first thought was to turn on me? Why did he and his wife have the nerve to sell me off? Weren't they afraid I'd fight back? And why did my sister-in-law raise those twins to be useless? Do you really think none of this has anything to do with you? It's because you favored my brother from the start. That's what made his whole family think I was weak and isolated, an easy target. Even if they sold me, they knew you'd step in afterward. You'd be the one pleading with me, pressuring me, telling me not to go to the police. My mother's clouded eyes widened in shock. And the twins, if you'd stepped in sooner, even Monica's meddling couldn't have turned them into such fools. But even if they ended up that way, what did it matter to you? You think my brother's someone special. Since the twins couldn't bring you any pride anyway, he could always divorce and remarry. He could have more children, smart, clever ones. My mother shot up from her seat and slapped me across the face. Leon blocked the second blow. I lifted my chin and declared loudly, I can look you in the eye with a clear conscience. Can you say the same? My mother trembled as she began to curse at me. Karma, Celine, you'll get what's coming to you. I said with a smile, I'm not afraid of karma. In my past life, I already suffered the consequences for being kind. The justice you never gave me, the law will. Mom, we won't be seeing each other again. Let's just go our separate ways from now on. 23, perhaps out of consideration for the twins, Drake ultimately took all the blame upon himself. Both my brother and his wife were sentenced. My cousin was imprisoned for sexual assault. My mother served only a year in prison for being an accessory to the crime. The twins were placed in an orphanage. I heard that due to their own developmental issues, they were often bullied by the other children. A child is a blank slate. What they become is shaped entirely by their parents' guidance and upbringing. Yet, I could never understand why, in my past life, the two children I poured so much time and effort into raising could treat me with such cruelty and heartlessness, for reasons I couldn't quite explain. I still went to the orphanage to visit the twins, as it turned out. In the orphanage's little garden, I overheard their secret, whispered conversation. Brother, why can't I lift my arms at all? It feels like something is pressing down on me. It's not just that. Sis, how did we get so fat? And this isn't a boarding school, it's an orphanage. The girl asked in horror. An orphanage? We've been abandoned. What about Mom and Dad? And Grandma? How could they just leave us? The boy reassured her. Mom and Dad are just a pair of idiots. I heard they got into trouble and are in jail now. The headmistress said our aunt is coming to see us today. When she gets here, we'll cry, really sob our hearts out, just like we used to. Auntie has the softest heart. She'll definitely take us away from here. The girl laughed. Of course, Auntie is the easiest to fool. She doesn't have kids of her own, so she definitely sees us as her own children. The boy continued scheming. Adults are so naive. They think we don't know anything. But of course we're going to choose what's best for ourselves. I walked out of the orphanage in silence. If the twins like waiting, then let them wait. They could wait from dawn till dusk, but I was never going back for them. It wasn't as complicated as I had imagined. Seeking benefit and avoiding harm is simply human nature. I thought they were too young to understand anything. In reality, having been subtly influenced by their biological parents and grandmother, they also knew that I was the easiest one in the whole family to take advantage of. Their wickedness is simply more brazen, and because of their youth, it's all the more easily overlooked. How could twin flowers, sprouted from a vine born of a rotting swamp, ever be pure and flawless? 24. Another 6 years had passed. Leon and I have decided to get married. In this lifetime, we haven't missed our chance with each other, even though it was a long-distance relationship. We've gone from campus life to the working world together. We've faced countless hardships and setbacks, but we've stuck it out. After I met Leon's family, he suggested meeting my mom next to discuss our wedding plans. I am opposed to this matter. It was their obstruction and deceit in our past life that caused us to be separated for so many years. This time, how could I be willing to take the risk and let them interfere in my life again? Leon asked, have you really decided that our child will never meet their grandmother in their entire life? I nodded solemnly. You know what my family has done to me. They've been leeching the life out of me, and if I ever get a chance to break free from their control, they'd try to destroy me. Seeing the vulnerability and sorrow in my eyes, Leon comforted me, saying, Celine, whatever you decide, I'll support you. I wanted to build a home with you, a shelter from the storm, not to send you back out into it. Please, trust me." Of course I trust him. He's the one who waited for me for so many years in a past life, and the one who saved me in my moment of greatest need. 25. On the eve of the wedding, my mother still managed to track down my new phone number. For years now, we, mother and daughter, had long since cut off all contact. "Celine, I heard you're getting married. Congratulations." Hearing my mother's voice offering congratulations after so long, it too was tinged with caution. For a moment, I didn't know whether to feel sad or happy. "Is the wedding in Xinjiang? Haven't you and Leon thought about having it back home?" I said coolly. "There's no need. Our social circle is all here." My mother instantly grew anxious. "So you really don't want your mother anymore?" I said coldly. "Wasn't it you, Mom, who chose to abandon me first? Do I need to remind you what happened 6 years ago?" No. My mother's voice trembled with a hint of panic. "Celine, you have to save me. The twins are trying to harm me." After my mother was released from prison, she brought the twins home from the orphanage. All these years, she's been living for her twins, and nothing out of the ordinary ever seemed to happen. "Celine, I'm telling you the truth. Over the past few years, the twins have become articulate and sharp. But they're saying I'm the one who ruined their lives. Chloe says her arm is useless, that she'll never be able to dance Swan Lake, and Jaden confronted me, asking why I didn't spend the money on his Olympiad math classes, saying it's my fault he didn't get into that elite elementary school. I'm so scared. The way they're looking at me is like a leopard about to pounce." Hearing this, I couldn't help but recall the gaze of the twins as I lay dying in my past life. There wasn't a shred of warmth in it. They simply wanted to know, was I dead yet? "Mom, you're the one who brought them home. You'll just have to be patient and reason with them properly." In my past life, when the twins made a mistake, I was going to punish them. My mother chimed in. "It's just a minor slip-up. No need for punishment. Just be patient and reason with them properly. That should do the trick." The twins immediately shot my mother a look of gratitude. Some evils thrive and grow unchecked, nurtured by tolerance and indulgence. "Celine, you can't just abandon me." Just as I was trying to figure out how to respond, the call suddenly cut off with a click. 26. The very next day, I got a call from the police back in my hometown. My mother and the twins had died by suicide, using gas in our home. I was the only one left in the family who could deal with the aftermath. The police said the case wasn't hard to figure out. The whole neighborhood had witnessed the drama that had been unfolding in my family for years. It's not impossible that my mother, in a moment of despair, took her own life along with her grandchildren. It's just that Jaden wrote some incomprehensible things in his diary. He claimed that he and his sister were time travelers. In another timeline, their lives were exhausting and miserable, full of accolades but devoid of freedom. That's why they killed all their relatives, including their aunt, and then chose to end their own lives. They have awakened in this time and space, yet the circumstances are vastly different. My sister injured her arm and can no longer dance Swan Lake. His appearance and intellect are also far inferior to his previous life. They now possess boundless freedom, yet they find themselves longing for the fame and achievements they were once celebrated for. So they decided to follow the same playbook as their past life, taking their loved ones with them in another suicide attempt, hoping to jump to the next dimension and finally live the dream. After reading the diary, I confirmed the handwriting was indeed that of Jaden from the previous life. I taught him every single stroke of that by hand. If a 10-year-old kid already knows about robbery and murder, what else is he clueless about? My mother simply reaped what she sowed. The police saw I had nothing to say and dismissed it as a child's daydream, scribbled down for fun. I'm so grateful I never crossed paths with them again in this life. They came back, only to flee again. Did they ever get the rebirth into the life they so desired? Then no one would ever know. Two deranged fools, who don't even know what they truly want. How could they possibly live a good life, toiling away day after day, mired in discontent? Why endure such an existence? If infinite rebirth truly existed, for them, it would be nothing but an eternal hell. In Buddhism, the Avicii hell is the most agonizing of the 8 great hells. Within the Avicii hell, there is no hope of deliverance. Beyond suffering, there is no other sensation. As their aunt, I wish them an eternity in that hell. 27. One day after the wedding, I dreamt of a beautiful little girl, with a laugh like a silver bell. She handed me a bouquet. When I awoke, I remembered the flowers were my favorite, the iris. The language of flowers for the yucca plant symbolizes transformation and hope. Not long after, I went to the hospital for a checkup, and I was indeed pregnant. When Leon found out, he said joyfully, "That's wonderful. I promise I'll never let you and our child suffer again." I chuckled softly and said, "It's all in the past. What's there to worry about?" At 8 weeks pregnant, Leon and I went together for the ultrasound. Holding the ultrasound image, Leon asked with some unease, "Doctor, is it twins?" The doctor gave Leon a few extra glances and said, "It's a single pregnancy. And don't ask about the gender." In the hospital corridor, I saw Leon let out a long, deep sigh, the corners of his eyes reddening. I walked over and took his hand. "Don't worry anymore, it's a girl." Leon froze for a moment. I said it again. "That's right, it's a girl." In that instant, he understood, and I knew exactly what he had understood. Stepping out of the hospital, the sunlight washed over us. We held each other's hands, as if we had survived a great calamity, holding your hand. Growing old together, it was just like that. The end. Story 2. In an internet-wide poll for Mom of the Year, my mom topped the charts. 8-year-old Marina was doted on by her mother like a little princess, the little angel who descended to earth, and her mother were each other's salvation. Trending topics everywhere were singing praises of her motherly love. "Marina, say you'll stay with mommy. When we get home, I'll buy you pretty dresses and delicious cakes. I used to think my mom loved me too. Marina, put on these colored contacts and wear this princess dress, and you'll be the most beautiful girl in the world. Whatever you want, mommy will buy it for you." She loved sharing with her followers pictures of me wearing colored contacts, playing the angel, Marina. Do you have any idea what you're saying? If you choose your father, you'll lose everything you have now. You'll no longer be a little princess or a little angel. Your father will just throw you in a cold room and leave you to fend for yourself. I endured the pain and wore them for 4 years straight. Marina, I want you to understand that whoever you choose, you'll be living with them from now on. Mom and dad are going to separate. Until my corneas deteriorated and I went blind. Why would she choose her dad? Is Marina heartless? Even after how much her mom doted on her, she still betrayed her mom. She completely changed, leaving me to rot and die. She's just an ungrateful child who can't appreciate kindness. How heartbroken her mom must be. Marina, why did you have to hurt your mom? After I took my last breath, she dug out my butterfly-patterned eyes and sold them to her fans for a high price. Did her dad use some kind of trick, after all? Marina is only 8 and doesn't understand things yet, basking in the glory of being the most beautiful mom for the rest of her life. Marina, did you choose daddy just because mommy wouldn't let you have candy? If you choose mommy again, you can have as much candy as you want. Be a good girl, Marina, and come to mommy. Reborn on the day my parents divorced. Marina, hurry up and eat the cake. Put a little bit on your nose. Just like that. You look absolutely adorable, Marina. Everyone expected me to run to my mother. Marina, you hold the candy like you're about to eat it, then when I tell you not to eat it, you put it back. Instead, I clung tightly to my father's sleeve. Marina, don't be so willful. Mommy loves you very much. But this is not a joking matter. Come here right now. 5. What nonsense are you talking? What kid doesn't like candy? Gage, what did you do to manipulate Marina? How did you get her to say she doesn't like candy? The moment I opened my eyes, I was back at my parents' divorce proceedings. That's impossible. I saw in a video before that Marina really wanted candy, but her mom thought it wasn't good for her to eat too much while she's losing her baby teeth, so she refused Marina's request. Her mom loves Marina so much. Mom had invited numerous reporters to live stream the divorce, crying her heart out. My kid is 8 too, and he wants candy whenever he sees it. What kid doesn't love candy? And Marina's a girl, her father must have threatened her. All I ever wanted was companionship, but he couldn't give me that. All he knows is work, sometimes not coming home for months. What's worst is that he's barely been present in our daughter's life at all. A husband and father like that, we don't need him. Poor Marina's mom, she's getting divorced, and her husband played her. Now she can't even get custody of her beloved daughter. Dad kept his head down, his temples showing distinct gray hairs, his eyes filled with guilt. Marina, your father doesn't care about our family. All he knows is work, living only for himself. He never cares whether we live or die. I can't support you alone, and we have no money, but I knew that when Dad didn't come home, he was at the research institute contributing to our country. I've never taught Marina to lie like that. You don't even know if she likes candy or not. Do you really love her? Mom took out the divorce papers. Nonsense. Marina loves candy, and I have video proof. Sweetheart, your father and I are getting a divorce. Who do you want to live with, mom or dad? Marina shouldn't lie willfully. That's wrong. The viewers in the live stream chat started discussing what they saw. I shook my head. But mom, you taught me how to make all those videos. Marina doesn't want to make videos that deceive people. Is that even a question? The little angel will definitely stay with her mom. Her mom is so good to her. If Marina really lived with her father, she'd be completely spoiled in the future. Her father is not fit to be a dad at all, always fooling around outside. Am I the only one who sees a problem here? Most influencers these days are following scripts. What makes you so sure Marina's mom isn't? Even if you gave the child to a father like that, he would probably just ignore her. But Marina, mommy truly loves you. Everything I do for you is real. Sometimes when I ask you to smile more, it's just because I want people to see our life more clearly. I want to share my love for you with the whole world. Don't I treat you well otherwise, whether it's scripted or not? There's no doubt that Marina's mom loves her. What mother doesn't love her own child? So what if it's scripted? We enjoy watching it, and Marina is happy too. Marina, be a good girl. Don't listen to your father's persuasion. Just stay with your mom and be cherished. The reason people online call me Little Angel is because I have butterfly-shaped blood vessel patterns on my pupils. I remember Marina's eyes used to be so clear, without any butterfly patterns. I don't know when this mark appeared. I've told you many times to take her to the hospital for a checkup. Have you ever taken her? Of course. This isn't natural. I'm actually wearing special cosmetic contact lenses that my mom had custom-made for me. I've told you so many times to take Marina to the hospital to have her eyes checked. Why won't you take her? I happen to have time today. Come on, Marina. Daddy will take you to the hospital. She posted photos of me wearing these lenses online, claiming I was born with heterochromia and then an angel had descended to Earth. Dad didn't believe it at all. Impossible. She's had eye problems for a long time. If it were that simple, it would have been fixed long ago. Why won't you get her treatment? Marina, tell me what's going on. She even quoted someone else. Mom looked me straight in the eye. Marina, you'd better tell the truth. Don't worry your father. He still has to go to work. My daughter was born to be pampered. Thank you, my little angel, for choosing me to be your mom. That's enough. You're gone for so long, and the first thing you say when you come home is that Marina is sick. Are you just looking for an excuse to divorce me? Thanks to her packaging, I became an overnight sensation, a top-tier influencer. Marina was born with this condition. You're never home, so of course you wouldn't know about Marina's situation. If you cared about your daughter like other fathers do, you would have known long ago. This is your failure as a father. Everything in this family has been left on my shoulders. Do you have any idea how hard I've been working, how much Marina has missed her father? Later, every moment of me being doted on had to be filmed. Even my sleep was live-streamed. He tightened his grip on my hand. Marina, it's Daddy's fault. Do you blame me? Netizens all said I have a great mom and wish they could be my mom's daughter too. Marina, stop talking nonsense. Who taught you to lie? She even won the Most Desirable Mom Award in an annual selection when Marina first got popular. I said she was wearing cosmetic lenses, but a bunch of people argued with me. Looks like I was right all along. Seeing me dazed, Mom called out to me softly, "You can't take what kids say seriously." I trust Marina's mom. Where are these die-hard fans coming from? Go away. Marina is only 8 years old. How could she possibly lie? Marina, Mommy never thought you would tell such lies. Do you know what happens when you lie? Have you forgotten all the good things I've done for you? You're Mommy's little angel, Mommy's princess. In my previous life, I chose Mom without hesitation. Don't any of you believe Marina? She's been brainwashed by her father, helping him slander me. Why would I put colored contact lenses on my own daughter just to deceive people? You all know how much I love her. Just as she said, when I got home, my mom became even nicer to me. I've carefully analyzed the pictures of her eyes, and she's definitely wearing colored contact lenses. These special custom lenses create this effect, but besides being expensive, they can cause irreversible damage to a child's cornea. Marina has been wearing these lenses for 2 years, and if she continues, she could go blind. She bought dozens of little dresses, and every time she had me change into one, she would take videos and photos. As an ophthalmologist with 8 years of experience, if Marina has really been wearing cosmetic contact lenses for 2 years, her corneas might already be severely damaged, but judging by her current condition, it's not too late for treatment. She would also praise me lavishly. Marina, it's Daddy's fault. I can't believe I never realized the truth. All this time, your eye problems were because of those cosmetic lenses. Can you take them out? You'll never have to wear them again. Marina said she's in pain every day, and you let her suffer. Are you really her mother? Call the police. This is child abuse. If Marina hadn't bravely spoken up today, she would likely go blind in the future. I can't bear to imagine what kind of life she would have then. I was basking in my mother's praise. Though my eyes hurt a bit, I endured it all for the sake of looking beautiful. Marina was only 6 when this account was first created. How could you be so heartless? Are you even human? Mom urged me again, confident that I would choose her. My mother dismissively pulled me over and said, "That was without medication. Now that we're using medication, what's there to be afraid of? Marina, if you don't make videos with me, we won't earn any money or have food to eat. Then it won't just be your eyes that hurt. We'll end up homeless on the streets," including the audience watching the live stream and the reporters on site. This is horrifying, absolutely spine-chilling. I can't believe this is Marina's biological mother. I demand a DNA test. They can't possibly be related. But I shifted my gaze from my mother to my father. What to do when your eggs aren't rotten? Just add some stinky tofu. I choose Dad. But my love for Marina is real. I gave her everything she wanted. Marina's inner world is so rich, isn't it? I truly love her. I just went about it the wrong way. I know I was wrong now. And I'll never let her wear colored contacts that hurt her eyes again. Marina, you know mommy loves you, right? This time, I'm going to break free from this so-called good mom and tear apart her hypocritical facade, piece by piece. Marina's mom has a point. She just doesn't understand the harm that colored contacts can cause. She truly loves Marina. You can see it in all the little things. In my past life, I died at 14. Dad's hair turned white overnight. He blamed himself for being useless, for not being able to give me a prosperous life. Is she kidding me? The doctors have already explained it. Can't she understand human language? Who knows if all this love for Marina is just for show? You blind fans need to stop being so blind. After living one lifetime, I finally realized that Dad was the one who truly cared for me all along. Marina's eyes were taken back by the heavens. She was too perfect. No matter how much I loved her, I couldn't stop God from being jealous. He had once fought for custody of me. But back then, I was set on staying with my mom and never paid him any mind. I've put Marina's belongings in the shop window, hoping someone who can afford it will help my daughter and me. 5. All right, Brother Riker, when the time comes, you and I will live carefree and enjoy the good life together. The moment I said those words, everyone was stunned. Even if I was wrong about Mom, even if she really does love me, what about Uncle Riker? He must hate me. Mom's eyes widened in disbelief. After Mom gets together with Uncle Riker, he definitely won't want Marina around. Who is Uncle Riker? Esme, you tell me right now. Oh my God, could Marina's mom be having an affair? Dad never thought I would choose him. The look he gave me was filled with shock and disbelief. Any hackers here? Go find out who Uncle Riker is. I want all his information in 3 minutes. He reached for me with trembling hands. Before long, Riker's information was spreading like wildfire across the internet. Wasn't that when Marina's mom's account was just starting to take off? I love Marina so much, I really do. I nodded firmly. Listen to me, Riker was the one harassing me. I never agreed to anything with him. I know, Dad. I just want to live with you. I'll fight for the assets and make you pay back everything you owe me and Marina, including the house. He didn't ask why I didn't choose Mom. Instead, with tears welling in his eyes, he pulled me into his arms, trembling with emotion. Marina, I failed you as a father for the first 8 years of your life. From now on, I promise I'll take good care of you, Marina. Daddy will fix your eyes. Mom's fans went ballistic, defending her in the live stream chat. Riker, why are you avoiding me? I've given up everything for you. You can't just abandon me without a conscience. With dark circles under his eyes, Riker viciously shook off his mother's hand. Riker, making our daughter wear colored contacts to become an influencer was your idea. This is all your fault. Most of the money we earned went to you. And even Marina's father gave you a substantial amount. I'm like this because I loved you. You can't just leave me alone. She had it coming. That's what she gets for bringing this on herself. Thankfully, Marina was sharp enough not to fall for her deception any longer. Later, I came across news about Riker online. Is this just a show for clout? Otherwise, anyone would choose their mom. She stabbed Riker over 100 times with a knife. Without leaving a single word, she died alongside Riker in a pool of blood. In an instant, all the conspiracy theories were pinned on Dad. Mom was furious, yet her smile remained gentle. She reached out to me. I stared at her hypocritical face, unmoved. To be honest, I don't really like candy or cake. Mom would always buy me cakes. And she'd hold up her phone to film me. I did as my mom said. Mom, I want some ice cream. Mom was happily editing her video, and without looking up, she agreed to my request. Yes, 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 go ahead and eat. It's in the fridge. Go get it yourself. This was already the 3rd ice cream I had eaten today. Whenever I told my good friends that I could eat ice cream whenever I wanted, they were incredibly envious. Although sometimes I would get a stomachache after eating it, if Mom said it was fine. Then it was definitely fine. Back then, I thought Mom loved me so much, but now I realize she just didn't care about me at all. When Mom saw that I wasn't moving, she finally got a little angry. I shook my head and held Daddy's hand tightly. Mommy, you've always known I don't like candy. Mom was startled. She subconsciously shifted the blame to Dad, even though she knew perfectly well that I don't like candy. It was all just a fake image she edited together. It's laughable that I was so young back then and actually thought my mother truly loved me. The netizens also think I'm lying, but I really don't like candy. All my online personas were meticulously designed by my mom. I remember being so scared the first time I wore cosmetic contact lenses. Mom tempted me with ice cream and asked if I wanted to become an angel. I nodded eagerly. All my friends said angels and princesses were the best, and if I became an angel, how all the other kids would envy me. Once you put on these cosmetic lenses, you'll turn into an angel. So I braced my fear and put on the cosmetic lenses. The edges of the lenses felt like sandpaper, grinding painfully against my eyes. I wanted to take them out, but Mom said that was normal and I just needed to endure it until I got used to them. She asked if I didn't want other kids to envy me. In the end, I gave in. From that day on, Mom kept pointing her phone at me, telling me to open my eyes wide and smile hard. To maintain my angel image, Mom never let me take off my colored contacts, making me wear them even to school. I was tormented to tears every day, and for the first time, I begged Mom to let me take off the colored contacts, but Mom said, "Now that you're famous online, I can earn a lot of money. If you refuse to cooperate with me anymore, then you and I will have no money for food, we'll lose our house to the bank and become homeless. You don't want to starve to death with me, do you?" I was terrified and tearfully said I would never mention taking off the colored contacts again. I endured excruciating pain every day just so my mom would have food to eat. At the same time, I grew to despise my dad and never got close to him again. Mom praised me for being so mature, promised to buy me the new dress I wanted last time, and stuffed a handful of candy into my hand as a reward, even though I don't like candy. I ate every single piece one by one. My mom brainwashed me. And when I couldn't take it anymore, I'd comfort myself by thinking she was just doing it for my own good. 5. Dad always used to submit to Mom's every whim. He felt guilty toward Mom, knowing he really did spend too much time at the research institute, but now that they're divorced, Dad doesn't want to be bullied by her anymore and has worked up the courage to talk back. The mother confidently pulled out her phone. Everyone gasped, apparently not expecting me to say that, all along. Those videos were presented from the perspective of our daily mother-daughter life. My acting was so good that no one ever suspected they were scripted. The die-hard fans were unhappy now, not only cursing at me but dragging Dad into it as well. How did this child learn to lie? Must be from her father. No wonder the mother wants to divorce him. Good for her. It's wrong for either side to be using the child. I want to see the truth. My mom couldn't sit still any longer, a hint of panic in her eyes. She shot the reporters a look, signaling them to stop the live broadcast, but the reporters thrive on this kind of drama. How could they pass up on such gossip? They completely ignored my mom's request and started snapping pictures of us frantically. Mom could only force a smile back at me. If the love is real, then why would the child choose her father? On the surface, she was indeed incredibly good to me. She would wear colored contacts just to please me and fulfill every single wish I had. At home, I had everything: Barbie dolls worth thousands, princess dresses costing thousands, and makeup made exclusively for children. If I wanted it, she would get it for me, but she never truly loved me at all. She only saw my value, using me to make money. Everything was for her own selfish gain. My life wasn't as wonderful as others thought. The cosmetic lenses tormented me with pain every single day. It wasn't until the cosmetic lenses caused corneal disease that my mother's kindness toward me vanished overnight. Even after I went blind, she locked me in a dark room and treated me like a dog, and after I died, she gouged up my eyes that bore a butterfly-shaped mark. Thinking back on everything, I lowered my head sadly. Seeing my sadness, Dad finally asked the question that had been on his mind. Dad's work was incredibly busy, so busy that he had to squeeze out time even for the divorce. So he never knew what was happening online. No matter how busy he was, he would always make time to come home, bringing gifts that my mom and I loved, just to hear me sweetly call him Dad. Mom wouldn't let me tell him about the colored contact lenses. She told me to say that my eyes had naturally changed color, so I helped Mom keep the secret, which indirectly led to the deaths of my father and me. He dedicated more than a decade of his life to a top-secret national project. After live streaming our divorce, he was cyberbullied by everyone. When the project ended, he received news of my death. Completely devastated, he drank an entire bottle of pesticide and took his own life. In this life, I will definitely not repeat the same mistakes. A sudden sharp pain shot through my eyes, reminding me of the time my father came home and saw my red, swollen eyes. He flew into a terrible rage. Afraid the truth would come out, Mom hurriedly stopped Dad. "I've already taken her to see the doctor. The doctor said there's nothing wrong, she just rubs her eyes too much, and some eye drops will fix it." Mom's eyes were full of threat. Every time she looked at me like this, it meant she was angry, although she wouldn't hit me. I was still afraid. My eyes really hurt, but Mom said it was nothing, so it must be nothing. Back then, all I could think about was not letting Dad discover the secret, so I did everything Mom said. "Dad, I'm fine. I'll be careful not to rub my eyes anymore. It's all my fault. Let's not go to the hospital." Dad was skeptical. "No, we still need to get it checked. That doctor must be a quack." Seeing Dad insist, Mom simply threw a tantrum, sitting on the sofa and bursting into loud sobs. In the end, My dad gave up. He felt guilty for not being there enough for my mom. He probably never imagined that my mom could be so cruel to me. He thought my mom loved me just as much as he did, and he even blamed himself for doubting her. He had tried to save me, but I had been brainwashed by my mom and lost that precious opportunity. 5. Back at the divorce proceedings, hearing her husband's accusation, the mother defended herself with a guilty look in her eyes, with each accusation from his wife. The father was overcome with guilt once again. I shook my head. I don't blame you, Daddy. Turning back, I looked at Mom in the camera. Daddy, there are butterflies in my eyes because Mom had me wear colored contact lenses. My mother was horrified, suddenly cutting me off with a loud shout. She shot me that warning look again, and every time she did, I would back down, but this time, I was going to disappoint her. I wouldn't let her control my life anymore. Netizens were shocked and started discussing my eyes. I knew those were cosmetic lenses. Normal eyes don't look like that. I know there's probably a heated debate online, but this is exactly the outcome I wanted. I want to expose my mother's hypocrisy in front of everyone. I just want to live a normal life. Mom hysterically pointed at me. I'm the #1 most desirable mom, who's really lying here. Meanwhile, many ophthalmologists came forward to testify. My heart aches watching this. What's the truth? I looked at my mother, who was trying to justify herself, and felt a wave of sorrow wash over me. Mom, I'm telling the truth. Why do you make me lie? I don't like lying, and I don't like wearing cosmetic contact lenses, even though they make my eyes look pretty. They hurt so much. You always tell me to just endure it, but I've been enduring for 2 years, and it hasn't gotten any better. Mom, I'm really in so much pain. Dad was furious, and he crouched down fearfully to look at my eyes. A pang of sadness washed over me as I reached up and removed my colored contact lenses. When I looked up again, my pupils were clear, but the whites of my eyes were swollen and red. Where the butterfly pattern had been, there was nothing, just the eyes of an ordinary person. The reporters rushed forward like madmen, frantically snapping photos of my eyes. I didn't flinch or shy away. I lifted my head, letting each and every one of them get a clear shot. In the live stream, it was clear to see that my eyes were no different from anyone else's, except for being red and swollen. I held the colored contact lens between my fingertips, with butterfly patterns clearly etched on it. The internet was already in chaos. Mom's account was rapidly losing followers. Countless people flocked to her account to hurl abuse. You bitch. I thought you were a good mother, but you treated me like a dog. You're worse than those scripted shows. At least they don't force the kids. The mother was stunned with fear. She frantically denied everything to the camera. No, don't listen to the child's nonsense. She wears those colored contacts because she likes them. I've been so good to her. I love her so much. Why would I ever let her suffer? I've already asked the doctor, and the doctor said everything will be fine. Stop taking pictures. Please stop. Mom frantically tried to grab the cameras from the reporters. In my previous life, I chose my mom and became an accomplice in pushing my dad into the abyss. She was so full of herself back then, nothing like the mess she is now. But that wasn't enough. I spoke up again. Mom. The chaotic room fell silent, all waiting for me to speak. Mom, that's not what the doctor said when we went to see him. 5, just a month ago. I was in so much pain that I made such a fuss that Mom had to take me to the hospital. When we saw the doctor, she seemed a bit impatient. Doctor, she's always complaining about her eyes hurting. Could you check if she's just faking it? I wanted to say I wasn't faking it, and it hurt so much that my mom didn't believe me, but then I thought about how good she's been to me, and realized she must have misunderstood. Once she sees the doctor, she'll understand. The doctor got very angry after examining my eyes. She's so young and you're letting her wear cosmetic lenses. Are you really her mother? What were you thinking? Take them out immediately. Mom knew she couldn't fool the doctor, so she had to take them off for me. Her corneas are already damaged and inflamed. If you don't want her to go blind, stop letting her wear those dreadful things. I really don't understand you parents. Mom was a bit unhappy. The doctor hastily prescribed a bunch of medications and instructed Mom, make sure you watch her medication carefully. Both the topical and oral ones must be given on time. Children's eyes aren't like adults. They're so fragile. As her mother, you might not have known this before, but now you must follow the doctor's orders. She can never wear cosmetic contact lenses again. I felt happy, yet a bit worried. Happy that I no longer had to endure the pain, but worried that my mom wouldn't be able to earn money because of this, and we wouldn't have enough to eat. But in reality, my worries were all unnecessary. Mom came home with the medicine, looking very unhappy. That doctor is a complete quack. What does he know? Your eyes have always been like this. If they were going to get worse, they would have already. He prescribed all this medication just to rip us off. I lowered my head meekly. But Mom, it really hurts. Fine. Just use the medicine then. It would be a waste not to use it since it's already been prescribed. Mom applied the medicine for me, then turned around and took out new colored contact lenses. I recoiled in fear. Mom, the doctor said I can't wear these anymore. I put on my colored contacts through tears, continuing to let my mom orchestrate our video shoot. When the pain became unbearable, Mom would give me painkillers. She'd coax me. Be good, take these and the pain will go away. Your eyes are already on medication, everything will be fine. I was on painkillers for a whole month, and now even they barely work anymore. I blurted everything out at once. Mom's face was deathly pale, yet she kept trying to defend herself. I don't think I did anything wrong. I've already given her the medicine, so her eyes won't get any worse. The painkillers were just because I was afraid she was in pain. Dad's eyes had already filled with tears. He held me tightly in his arms without saying a word. Yet I could feel his heart aching for me. That was a father's true love for his daughter, pure and without any selfish motives. Enough, I said enough. You don't deserve to be a mother. What's real on the internet anymore? Torturing your own daughter like that just for views, not even caring about the risk of blindness. Are you crazy for money or what? So there really are mothers who don't love their children. In just a short while, the mother's 3 million followers had been cut in half. Some people even tracked down her home and were now waiting outside her door. I'm here waiting right now for this woman to come back. I'm going to throw rotten eggs at her and kill that bitch. Hey bro, where's her place? Count me in. 5. The father stared at her, his eyes blazing with fury. I thought you were her mother, that you would love her unconditionally, but you lied to her, told her you couldn't afford food. I worked my ass off, giving you my entire 200,000 annual salary. And yet you're still not satisfied. You're trading our daughter's health for your own gain. You deserve to die. I'm going to sue you and make sure you get what you deserve. Mom knew everything was exposed, that it was all over. She cried desperately, trying to win sympathy from Dad and me. The few remaining fans were moved by her words. Who hasn't made mistakes in their life? Maybe we should just forgive her this once. Looking at my mother's hypocritical face, I was reminded of the indifference she showed me back then. When I was 10, my eyes had completely deteriorated. I started losing my vision, with patches of darkness before my eyes. I begged my mom, "Mom, I think I'm going blind. I'm scared." My mother leaned in close to my face, examined me for a moment, and suddenly started lashing out at me. "You're so useless. Other people wear colored contacts for decades without any problems, but you have to have all sorts of issues. Do you have any idea how much money I've spent on your eyes these past 2 years? Now your eyes look lifeless, and even your fans don't want to look at you anymore. You're completely useless. If you actually go blind, how am I supposed to go on living?" The pain in my eyes, combined with the heartache, was more than I could bear. Everything suddenly went black, and I knew it was over for me. My mom started screaming at me every day. Before, whenever I wanted something to eat, she would buy it for me, but now, she just scolds me for wasting money. She started selling my things, from small hair clips to big dresses and toys. She would sell them to her followers while playing the victim. She posted a video, crying out, "I'll save up money for her eye treatment. I hope she can recover. She will always be my most beloved daughter." My things sold out in no time. Mom locked me in a dark room, forbidding me from going out and never letting my eyes appear on camera again. Sometimes she would post a picture of me from behind. In the picture, I looked desperate and lonely, as if abandoned by the whole world. Back then, my mom would always receive a flood of tips. She would happily go out to spend the money, and when she came back, she'd just buy me some random food to keep me quiet. I was becoming less and less human, growing thinner day by day. I longed for my mother to be the way she used to be, but she would never gently soothe me or reward me with candy again. Or perhaps she hadn't made enough money yet. She kept me alive but no longer gave me even a shred of motherly love. By the time I was 14, my body had already given out. She brought a man home. "I'm pregnant with your child. Let's get married in a few days." The man smiled triumphantly. "After all these years, you've finally made it. Once she's dead, you can disappear from the internet." The man leered at me. Her eyes have been permanently stained with butterfly pigment from those cosmetic lenses, even without wearing them now. The marks remain. Why don't we sell her eyes after she dies? I'm sure someone would pay to study them. Mom hesitated for a moment, but then agreed. That's fine. She'll be worthless once she's dead anyway. After all I've done for her all these years, her life will have had meaning. It's only right that she contributes something to her mother. They discussed it right in front of me, without any attempt to hide their conversation. I gazed weakly at the ceiling, finally breathing my last in despair. Whenever I recall these memories, my heart aches with pain, but seeing her standing there perfectly fine, I wondered what there was to be sad about. I might as well pretend she wasn't my mother. I spoke up once again to contradict my mother. "Mom, if I really go blind, would you still be this nice to me?" My friends say they can't eat ice cream whenever they want because it gives them stomach aches, but you let me eat as much as I want because you never care about my health. They also say their moms cook their favorite meals, but you only buy food you like, never asking if I even want to eat it. I don't like any of the dresses you buy for me, but I wear them anyway because I love you, Mom, and I want you to make videos to earn money and have a good life. A few words stirred up a storm once again. Dad's eyes were bloodshot. The internet world is just too mind-blowing. I need a moment to process this. No, I just need 1 minute. That bitch, she's been hooking up with this guy for 2 years, chilling to the bone, horrifying. Amiba, the mother knew she was completely finished, slumping to the ground and sobbing uncontrollably. I don't know. This isn't real. I didn't. Dad was heartbroken and devastated. No one paid attention to Mom's cries. And Dad held me in his arms with a heart full of concern. His eyes welled up with tears. I embraced my father with a heavy heart. Dad, let's live well together from now on. Dad, I love you. From now on, Dad and I will never die. We will definitely be very happy. 5. No, I've torn away all of Mom's hypocrisy, but I'm not as happy as I imagined I would be. She's my mother, who should have been filled with maternal love for me. But instead, for the sake of a strange man, she hurt me until I was covered in scars. Mom chose to escape. She said she didn't want anything anymore, not even my custody. Without another glance at her, I took Dad's hand and walked toward the sunlight. This incident sparked a heated debate online. People told my dad he should start an account, that it would definitely blow up, but my dad refused all of them. He said he didn't want me to go back to how things used to be, that he was capable of loving me properly. 5. Dad applied for help from the organization and brought me into the lab to live with him. My uncles and aunts were all very kind to me, and no one ever mentioned my past. Their care for me was genuine, and I could feel it in my heart. My eyes were covered under my father's attentive care. Dad's research project was soon successful. Immersed in this environment all day, my academic progress skyrocketed. Later, my dad and I stood together on the award podium, and I became a scientific researcher. 5. I saw my mother again shortly after their divorce, behind a shopping mall. When my friends and I went out for bubble tea, I saw her with disheveled hair and a dirty face, grabbing onto a man. Get away from me. It's because of you that I've ended up like this. People are waiting outside my house every day looking for trouble, and it's all because of your worthless daughter. Get lost. I'm broke. How am I supposed to help you? I can barely keep myself alive. Besides, your money was nothing, not even enough for me to blow through in a single night. Don't give me that I love you crap. If it weren't for the money you could make for me, who would have ever been with you? Now you're washed up, and I'm certainly not going to support you. Get the hell out of here. The mother was ruthlessly pushed down by him, collapsing to the ground without the strength to get back up. Passers-by recognized her and spat on the ground in front of her. Ugh. That wretched woman who harms her own daughter is worse than an animal. Has she lost her mind? Why is she lying here crying in such a miserable state? She kept crying and shouting in regret. But so what? No one who passed by showed her any sympathy. She never would have repented if it weren't for this outcome. Watching the scene now, I felt completely unmoved. In this life, I've finally broken free from her. The police had issued a bounty, stating he was trafficking children's organs and wanted to capture him for the death penalty, but the day before he was caught, Mom found him. Later, someone asked me if I would miss my mother. I just smiled faintly. I don't miss her, not one bit. Story 2. During our honeymoon, a zombie outbreak occurred, transforming the luxury cruise ship into a hellish nightmare. Instead of being saved, my husband pushed me off the life raft with his own hands. After countless rebirths, I finally faced reality. I decisively eliminated my husband and his pregnant lover. Equipped with a backpack of infinite storage, I scoured the cruise ship for supplies. Eventually, I jumped onto a life raft alone and drifted at sea for 3 full days. When I woke up again, I found myself stranded on a deserted island. Jump now, Giselle, I'll catch you, my husband shouted over the roaring, stormy sea, arms outstretched amidst the wind and rain. His life jacket nearly flipped over, and the rain blinded him. Seeing him like this, I felt a pang of emotion. Just then, someone on the boat yelled, "No more people can get on, the raft is going to collapse. My wife is still on board. Giselle, jump." Behind me were the screams of zombies, and ahead was my husband's embrace. I looked into his urgent eyes and finally leaped into his arms, but the moment he held me, the life raft tilted sharply downwards. A woman's voice by his side cried out, pulling at him, "Felix, what are you doing? Let her go, Felix." Seeing the rising seawater at his feet, clenched his teeth and held me tight as the woman beside him kept tugging at us. "Felix, don't forget whose child I'm carrying. Who do you choose, her or me and the child?" The hands holding me stiffened, and I could hear crying mixed with the breaths beside my ear. Giselle, I'm sorry. I wronged you." I was stunned. "Felix," she mentioned a child. "Whose child? I'm sorry. Giselle, I'm sorry." As he spoke, a strong force pushed me from the raft. As I fell into the sea, the raft suddenly lightened and flipped back. With my last glance, I saw Felix collapse into the crowded raft, embracing the woman beside him. Then, I was swallowed by the turbulent sea as thunder roared across the region. I suddenly opened my eyes, panting heavily, staring at the ceiling. The cool air conditioning blew as Felix, unaware, worked on his computer beside the bed. Another nightmare. I turned my head towards the dark, churning sea outside the small window. Trying to calm myself, I dreamed I fell into the sea. In the silent room, only the sound of Felix's typing echoed. After a while, he turned to look at me. "Aren't you a swimmer?" Scared of falling into the sea. Hearing his words, I forced a numb smile. Felix didn't know. The same response, I had heard it countless times. Glancing at the clock on the nightstand, it was exactly 9 o'clock, precisely to the minute. I got out of bed, walked to the bar, and made a cup of coffee. "Your boss really knows how to work you during your honeymoon, huh?" Felix looked up cautiously at me. "Are you mad?" I stirred the coffee and walked towards him. Why would I be mad? I was sleeping too. "Here." Felix looked at the cup, surprised, then smiled as he accepted it. The coffee wasn't too hot. He took a sip right away. "Wife, making coffee for me in the middle of the night. Don't you want me to sleep?" I smiled, picked up my backpack, and walked into the bathroom, since I'm well rested. "Don't expect to sleep either." After finishing the coffee, "Wait for me," I said. Felix responded in an ambiguous tone, "Okay." As soon as the bathroom door closed, the smile on my face vanished. I took out my phone and set an alarm for 10 minutes later. Turning on the shower, I let the water flow into the bathtub. I tied my hair up high as I looked in the mirror. 5 hours should be enough. I opened my backpack and put on my diving suit. Then I pulled open the bathroom drawer and took out all the disposable items: needle and thread, cotton swabs, matches, toothpaste, toothbrush, soap, shower gel, and a comb. I packed these along with the first aid kit, lighter, Swiss Army knife, and mini flashlight from my backpack into it. As I watched these items quickly disappear into the bag, I squinted my eyes. It was only after my 6th resurrection that I realized my backpack was bottomless. It could hold anything I put into it, except for living things, and that meant as long as I could make good use of this backpack, I still had a chance to survive. Nobody knew that at this point in time, I had already been resurrected countless times. Just last month, Felix and I booked what was touted as the world's largest cruise ship, the Diamond, for a month-long honeymoon trip. However, unexpectedly, as the ship sailed into the Atlantic, a strange hull pierced through the cruise ship. Half of the 5,000 passengers mutated, their bodies rapidly decomposing as they tore at everything on the ship. That night, Felix escaped on the last life raft with another woman. As the raft was overloaded, he pushed me into the deep sea, drowning and losing consciousness. I was resurrected to 5 hours before the ship sank, just like now. However, back then, I still couldn't believe that any of it would happen, until the same events occurred a second, third, fourth, countless times. Felix's choices were always the same. It was then I finally realized everything was real, and I was not dreaming. Through repeated trials and searching for clues, I learned that Felix pushing me from the life raft wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. As the number of resurrections increased, I discovered that Felix had been adding sleeping pills to the milk he warmed for me every night. Last time, I managed to send him out, which gave me a chance to find on his office computer the high insurance policy he took out on me. Besides that, there were various unfamiliar hotel loyalty program receipts and records of hotel stays before and after our marriage, countless in number. That's when I fully recognized the truth. Even without the zombie outbreak, Felix would have found a way to kill me. Remembering what his lover said last time, my gaze darkened. She was already pregnant. That meant he had been unfaithful even before our marriage. That woman was also on the ship. The two of them must have been plotting to kill me to claim the high insurance money, but I still don't understand why. If he wanted me dead, he would still open his arms to me every time. A sudden burst of guilt at the moment of life and death. Thinking this, my hand gripping the sink tightened suddenly. "Felix, you are truly cruel and cowardly." As my phone alarm went off, I stood up, shut off the shower, and looked at my ready self in the mirror. Exhaling sharply, I calmed myself down and once again picked up my phone to send a distress message to my parents. The signal was poor at sea, and it was still loading after a long time. I simply put the phone in a waterproof bag and pushed open the bathroom door. Seeing Felix already passed out on the bed after finishing his coffee, I searched for and found his spare phone. After unlocking the fingerprint, he immediately sent a message to his lover, "Come to 1702. As the doorbell rang, I silently hid in the darkness. Soon, the person discovered that the door was unlocked and walked in. "Hello, is anyone there?" Seeing the silhouette of Felix sitting at the table, the visitor seemed to relax. "You jerk, trying to scare me with the lights off. Why did you choose this place? Aren't you afraid?" The woman's voice was coy and familiar. As she approached the chair, she noticed something was off with Felix. "Felix, why aren't you talking? Where's your wife?" "I'm here." As soon as I finished speaking, I fiercely smashed the ashtray onto the back of the woman's head. With a loud crash, the woman fell to the ground. I dropped the blood-stained ashtray, dragged the woman aside, and tied her up with Felix, who was still in the chair, and quickly gagged them with towels. Glancing at my watch, with 4 hours left, I dragged a suitcase directly into a small backpack. The mouth of the backpack, like a greedy maw, swallowed the suitcase whole. Not dwelling on this bizarre scene, I immediately hoisted the backpack and ran to the ship's lower deck storage. The bottom of the ship housed the storage, containing the cruise's supplies. Just as I was about to turn the storage room door, suddenly, a waiter pushing a cart appeared behind me. The waiter was tall, his face obscured by his hat, and his voice was deep and calm. "Miss, can I help you with anything?" "Yes, I need some disposable towels, some matches, and some—" "What's your room number? I'll bring them over. I'm in a hurry, just give them to me here." The waiter and I locked eyes. After a standoff, I furrowed my brow. "Why don't you—" Clang! Suddenly, an arm appeared from under the cart the waiter was pushing. Feeling the tension, I turned and ran without a second thought. But before I could take a step, someone grabbed my backpack and pulled me back. A faint voice reached my ears. "Miss, don't you want your items anymore?" I steadied myself. "Do you have the keys to the storage room?" Then, with a loud bang, he kicked open the storage door. He grabbed my backpack and pushed me inside. "Please, miss, I never expected to encounter a murderer on my escape route. I wondered if I'd die by his hand. Would I get another chance, if I could start over? On such a large cruise ship, I'd choose a different place to exploit." Thinking to myself, I turned to see the man close the door and then drag someone from under the cart. As he took off his uniform, he lifted his chin. "Take what you need, just don't snoop around." I glanced at his solid muscles, quickly turned away, and started rummaging through the shelves. Seen people steal wallets, never seen anyone steal disposable items. "Hey, don't just take those towels and matches. There are valuable things here too." Saying this, a box of condoms was thrown into my arms. I pursed my lips, looking at the items in my hands, suddenly recalling some survival knowledge I knew before, and my eyes lit up. I immediately turned around and walked towards the shelf he was taking items from. I hastily stuffed everything from the shelf into my bag. The man watched me, squinting as if he were looking at a lunatic. "Miss, are you that short on cash, even stealing condoms?" As his words fell, groans began emerging from someone on the ground. Just as I was about to look down, the man grabbed my face, turning it back to him. "I told you, don't look around." The next second, there was a loud thud. The groaning from the ground stopped. With my head forcibly held, a look of curiosity washed over my face. So, was he dead or not? I didn't dare to ask. After a while, the man stood behind me, sizing me up, in the middle of the night, dressed in a diving suit. "You're not planning to go diving in a pool, are you?" I continued stuffing items into my bag. "Is that a problem?" The man stared at me thoughtfully. "Miss, do you think you can leave here tonight?" I zipped up my backpack, then turned calmly to look up at him. After removing his hat, the man revealed his sharply defined features, which carried a hint of fierceness, yet his eyes scorned me with a mocking smile. It seemed as if I was already his prey. Noticing his well-defined muscles, I nodded. Indeed, one punch from him could kill 3 of me. He looked down at me, flexing his wrists and neck. "Don't be scared, I'm quite gentle." Hearing this, I also smiled. "Is that so?" As he furrowed his brow, I quickly pulled up pepper spray from my bag and sprayed it into his eyes. Taking advantage of his momentary blockage, I forcefully kneed him in the groin. The man, caught off guard by my sudden attack, groaned in pain and instinctively bent over, clutching his lower body. This time, I kicked him with all my might, knocking him to the ground. "See you later, damn, don't let me catch you." I turned and ran to the door, shutting it firmly behind me and blocking it with a broom. With a zombie outbreak imminent, catch me. It's uncertain if he'd even survive until then. I didn't care, heading straight for the supermarket. The midnight supermarket was virtually deserted except for a cashier watching a movie with earphones during the night shift. I placed my backpack in a shopping cart and began looting the supermarket. To avoid catching the surveillance camera's attention, I first filled the cart to the brim, then started transferring all the items from the shelves into the backpack in the cart, with the cameras overhead. As long as the top layer of items appeared full, the cameras would just assume I was placing items into the cart, not noticing my actual actions. Being alone on a life raft, not knowing how long it would be before rescue, I had to prepare thoroughly. Though the backpack was not large, it swallowed any large item that came close: food, clothing, supplies. I swept through them all without missing a single one. Only after emptying the lower shelves did I approach the cashier outside the main entrance. I placed my now shrunken backpack next to the counter, handing over a basket of cheap items to the cashier who was still engrossed in her phone. She glanced at my pitifully small backpack and simply rang up some snacks from my basket. However, just as I was leaving with the items, she stopped me. She glanced at my tiny backpack, raised her hand, and pulled out a bag. Relieved, I quickly smiled and thanked her. After all, having died too many times, I had no time to worry about others' fates. So after receiving the plastic bag, I immediately turned and left. With less than an hour to spare, I dashed out of the cabin and headed straight for the life rafts located at the center of the ship. The thunderstorm outside the cabin continued its relentless assault. Leaning over the railing, I glanced at the dark sea below, wondering if jumping from this height would be survivable at all. Recalling my earlier experiences, I grabbed a life jacket tied next to the cabin and put it on. Feeling it wasn't enough, I grabbed 2 more and tied them around my legs. Once I felt adequately equipped, I made my way to where the life rafts were stored. Most of the life rafts near the cabin had been unusable, with only a few functioning properly. It wasn't time yet, but if I prepared the life raft in advance, I could be the first to leave the cruise ship. The life rafts were secured in a 2-meter-long capsule, designed to deploy automatically upon hitting the water. As I struggled to drag one towards the railing, a sudden shout interrupted my efforts. "Who's there?" I turned my head and saw a crew member blowing a whistle and running towards the stairs. This was bad. If someone stopped me, there would be no escape. I debated whether to run to the other side and steal another raft, or to confront him head-on, before the crew member could descend the stairs. A shadowy figure swiftly emerged and pinned him to the ground. What the, Watching the figure distort under the torrential rain, I hesitated no longer and pushed the capsule over the railing. As I kept a vigilant eye above, I watched the capsule hit the water, only to see it sink without deploying. Damn it! As the shadowy figure roared and leapt over the railing to my level, my face turned pale and I bolted, glancing at my wristwatch. Stay calm. There were still 30 minutes until the zombie outbreak of my previous life was in full swing. I still had a chance. Without waiting for the shadow to catch up, I darted into the passenger cabin and locked the door behind me. The midnight corridors of the passenger cabin were deserted, and I quickly navigated through the stairs and bar to reach the other end of the deck. On the side, I found another capsule containing a life raft. This time, I forcefully pulled the zipper and dragged the capsule towards the railing, just as I thought I was about to succeed. A hand suddenly reached up from behind and held down the capsule, trying to escape. Instinctively, I whipped out a knife and swung it behind me. As my wrist stung with pain, the shadowy figure grabbed it firmly. You've got some nerve, lady," a familiar voice remarked. Looking up sharply, I saw the man from the storage room earlier, now looking down at me, his hair wet from the rain and his eyes finally showing a murderous intent. How could he have caught up so quickly when I had blocked the door? His grip tightened on my wrist, the life raft still beside me. Realizing the disparity in our strengths, I immediately pleaded, "Let's not get in each other's way. All right, you let me go, and I won't meddle in your affairs." The man sized me up, then his gaze fell on the backpack behind me. "Not get in each other's way. You almost ruined me for life. How do we settle this?" A pragmatist at heart, I quickly apologized. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I deserve to die, or you can kick me back." The man chuckled in disbelief. I swear, before he could finish, a voice from the upper deck called out, "What are you doing? Don't you know it's dangerous to stand there in the rain? Get back inside." Both the man and I looked up, but as the person continued to speak, another shadow, accompanied by a howling sound, tackled him to the ground. Realizing something was terribly wrong, the man in front of me furrowed his brow and looked up. "What is that?" Sensing imminent danger, I struggled fiercely. "Let go, or we're both going to die." Despite his words, the man's grip tightened. "What do you know? Let me go and I'll tell you." Ow! Suddenly, a growling of zombies came from behind the man. Sensing something rapidly approaching, he reacted quickly, kicking out at a dark figure that was lunging towards him, catching it squarely on a protruding steel hook. As he shifted to the side, I could finally see the situation around us. Somehow, we had been surrounded by zombies, though none were as ferocious as the shadowy figure. The man stood in front of me and kicked another approaching zombie, still firmly holding onto my wrist. Panicking and sweating, I struggled behind him. "Big brother, let go. What the hell is going on? Why are you sneaking off with the life raft? What do you actually know?" "I don't know anything. Just let me go. If you won't talk, we can die together. To hell with this." I opened my mouth and bit down hard on the man's hand. The man winced from the pain but did not let go. Instead, he pulled me in front of him. Before I could react, he grabbed my knife-holding hand and thrust it directly into the throat of an approaching zombie. Under the moonlight, my gaze briefly landed on a series of numbers tattooed on his wrist. The next second, he kicked a zombie rushing from the left and then used me to stab another coming from the right. I felt like a puppet. stabbing countless zombie throats under his control. As more zombies gathered around and screams erupted from the cabin, the man still used me as a shield in front, pushing back as the zombies swarmed us. Stop, stop, you're my big brother, okay, stop, we can't kill them all, the man sneered. You obviously know something, spit it out. Fearing he might push me into the crowd of zombies, I reluctantly pointed to a capsule by my side. It's too late, there's a life raft. Throw it down and we'll talk down there. Seeing zombies swarming out of the passenger cabins, the men realized the situation was dire and immediately threw the half-deployed life raft I had been working on into the sea. As the life raft quickly unfolded on the water, a glimmer of hope flashed before my eyes. All right, I'll tell you what's really going on. Listen carefully. The man kicked a zombie nearing him and then let go of me. In that instant, I seized the opportunity to knee him fiercely. The next second, as he winced in pain, I didn't hesitate to step on the railing and leap into the sea. No way I'd tell him. After being pushed into the sea multiple times, I quickly adapted to the bone-chilling water. I barely sank for a few seconds before desperately swimming towards the life raft not far away. It was tough to progress in the turbulent sea, but with a Herculean effort, I managed to grab the rope of the life raft that was nearly drifting away and pulled myself aboard. Climbing onto the life raft, I looked back at the increasingly distant cruise ship and the man still clumsily fighting zombies, and I breathed a long sigh of relief. Maybe now, I can survive. 7. I drifted at sea for 3 days. Fortunately without encountering any storms, relying on the food and water in my backpack. I managed quite comfortably. However, floating aimlessly without seeing any ships or land left me feeling somewhat delirious. This was just a life raft, completely powerless. Drifting like this, another storm would surely finish me. One day, as I stared at the dark clouds gathering in the distance, I closed my eyes in despair. As I expected, the worst scenario unfolded. In the middle of the night, fierce winds whipped up huge waves, and within half an hour, the life raft was capsized and sank again into the icy waters. This time I was utterly exhausted. Having escaped to this point, if I opened my eyes to see Felix again, I'd rather just die. It seemed as though the heavens responded to my plea. The anticipated rebirth never came. It wasn't much better. The sound of the waves was right beside me, my hands and feet bound, and as I opened my eyes, I saw a fire being kindled next to me. A man, topless, sat in front of the fire, roasting fish with his back to me. The warm glow of the fire accentuated his muscular build, while my backpack hung dripping from a nearby tree branch. Not him again. How is he still alive? I suppressed the panic rising in my heart and carefully tried to untie the ropes on my hands, only to find that he had ripped his own clothes to tie me up tightly and securely. You're not just a good runner, you're pretty tough too, he remarked. His voice startled me. The man then slowly stood up and crouched in front of me. I fought my way in and out 7 times on that cruise ship, and you just took your chance and escaped on a life raft. The life raft drifted away. It's not my fault. The man chuckled. What about the zombies? Why were you looking for supplies in the warehouse ahead of time? I turned your backpack inside out. There was nothing. Did you throw everything away? He couldn't find the stuff inside. I brushed aside my doubts and bluffed. Maybe the pocket wasn't zipped up properly. It fell into the sea. Brother, can you untie me first? There's no one else here, and I can't run away. You think I'd trust you again? Seeing him indifferent and walking back to continue roasting his fish, I breathed a sigh of relief. At least this man didn't kill me. That shows a bit of humanity, but not much. Who knows what he's keeping me alive for? The situation on this island is unknown, and with zombies all over the ship, who knows what other dangers there might be? Lying on the ground, I observed my surroundings and noticed that the beach wasn't just soft sand. There were shells and rocks partially hidden beneath. The man continued to leisurely roast his fish, while I pleaded pitifully, secretly digging at the sand beneath with my hands tied behind, digging left and right. I finally felt a hard shell. Brother, please let me go. My wrists are hurting. And I'm just a girl. Don't you have any compassion? One more word and I'll throw you into the sea to feed the fish. Don't you want to know about the zombies? I don't want to know. Brother, we should at least be friends after a fight, right? Can't you just stop talking? Seeing the man rise, I quickly shrank back. I'm wrong. I'll shut up. While I showed weakness with my face, my hands frantically rubbed the rope against the sharp edge of the shell. Luckily, the rope he used was just his clothing, already rotted by seawater, and it was easy to cut through. Feeling the ropes loosen around my wrists, I stopped and looked down at the fabric binding my ankles. A few steps distance was enough for him to catch me, so it looked like I'd have to wait until midnight to make my escape. The man somehow found fresh water, seemingly keeping me alive for a purpose, afraid I'd starve, and even made some fish soup with thick leaves for me to drink. After that, he left me alone and found a sheltered spot to sleep, unlike me. This tough guy seemed to have survived through immense hardship, covered in scars yet able to fall asleep quickly, and soon started snoring. In the middle of the night, the sound of the waves mixed with the wind blew the smoke from the fire into the night sky. I lay there, watching the moon rise and set, waiting until his snoring was completely steady. I quickly freed my hands and untied my ankles. Once free, I tiptoed to the rack by the fire, grabbed my bag, and headed into the island's forest. As I walked into the forest, I cautiously glanced back at the man still sleeping outside the woods. Perhaps he was truly exhausted, or maybe the sound of the waves was too loud. Just moments ago, I accidentally stepped on a broken branch, yet it didn't wake him. I should have taken the opportunity to end his threat with a single strike, especially since this place is unfamiliar and he poses the greatest danger to me. Unfortunately, he had already taken my knife on the cruise ship. To kill him barehanded, I would need a very suitable large rock, but looking around, the beach was only strewn with small pebbles, and the only large rock I found was immovable. I decided it was better to focus on escaping than risk being killed myself if my attempt to use the rock failed. This man seemed to have significant wilderness experience. He had found a wind-sheltered rock for himself and wisely didn't venture into the woods unarmed under the cover of darkness. Logically, I should have done the same, waiting for daylight by the shore before entering the forest, but that was impossible. We had already become enemies on the ship, and with him on the beach, my survival during the day was uncertain. I walked a long time in the forest by moonlight until the sound of the waves faded, then reached into my backpack. As my hand entered the seemingly bottomless opening of the backpack, my vision filled with a clear view of its storage compartments, each filled with items I had placed inside. I sighed in relief, realizing that only I could use the backpack. That was a fortunate turn. With a gentle tap, I could view the detailed contents of each compartment. A brand new flashlight appeared, needing 2 size AA batteries. I remembered stuffing all sorts of batteries into my backpack while at the supermarket. Sure enough, after some searching, I found several packs of unopened, brand new batteries at the bottom compartment. I quickly opened a pack and inserted 2 batteries into the flashlight. As the bright light shone, I quickly covered the flashlight and looked around. I wasn't sure if there were wild animals on the island, and turning on the flashlight in the dark could make me an easy target. However, navigating without it was even more dangerous. I decided to dim the light slightly, just enough to see the ground in front of my feet. After a lengthy search in the woods, I finally found a massive ancient tree rooted in the crevices of a rock. Its trunk was so large it would take about 10 people to encircle it. The exposed roots and the rock behind formed a semi-enclosed hollow space, perfect for shelter. I scanned the area with my flashlight. There were no signs of animal habitation, just some weeds and no strange smells. Apart from some insects, there were no large animals in sight, so I could reasonably assume it was safe for now. Even if it wasn't, I had no choice. I was too exhausted. I entered the hollow and found it was less than 1.5 meters high. Standing up was difficult, but it was possible to set up a tent. The ground inside was covered with plants and weeds. I secured the flashlight on the ground, then took a tent and a double-layered waterproof liner from my backpack. After setting these up, I tossed in an inflatable mattress. I had known about the cruise itinerary when planning my honeymoon. It included a day and night stop at a holiday island, and the store on board had a camping section for young enthusiasts. I hadn't thought much of it at the time, but grabbed several items, thinking the automatic inflatable mattress could also serve as a life raft if needed. Touching the thick tent and mattress, I was deeply grateful for my greed. Settling down to sleep in this unfamiliar forest, I felt a mix of apprehension and relief. It's unbearable without it. After setting up the tent, I glanced back at the interwoven tree roots and slightly furrowed my brow. The gaps between the roots averaged half a meter wide, like several open doors, which was far too dangerous in the wilderness. I found some ropes and tied them across the roots, also hanging up some waterproof camouflage fabric from another set of equipment I had. The camouflage fabric covered the gaps, instantly creating a somewhat enclosed space inside the tree hollow. Still feeling uneasy, I rummaged through my backpack and found some pet bells I had casually picked up from the pet section. Originally, I thought these might attract the attention of zombies, but now, they could serve as warning bells. Stepping out of the tree hollow, I looked around and spotted some low bushes nearby, so I hung the leftover rope at a lower point on these bushes and attached the bells to the rope. As the rope tightened, any movement near my area during the night would make the bells ring. Although this precaution was minimal, it was better than nothing for the first night. After setting up my makeshift shelter, I immediately crawled back into the tent inside the tree hollow, changed out of my wetsuit, and into some cotton and linen clothes. Lying in the tent, I instantly felt more relaxed. 9. There was another man on the beach whose combat ability was many times higher than mine. I didn't dare to sleep deeply, just dozing off lightly, but due to sheer exhaustion, I eventually fell into a deep sleep. I slept soundly, and my dreams were bizarre and turbulent. With the sky filled with dark clouds and lightning, I stood on the tilting deck, and in front of me, a golden yellow life raft bobbed among the dark waves. Jump, Giselle. I'll catch you. I just stood there, motionless, staring at Felix, even as zombies grabbed my feet from behind. I didn't move forward. With another flash of lightning tearing through the night sky, Felix's face suddenly turned into another man's. Boom, the deafening thunder woke me from the nightmare. I abruptly opened my eyes. It took me a while to remember that I had long since left the cruise ship. My tense nerves relaxed momentarily, but soon, I sat up to the sound of the rain outside. It's normal for the island to be rainy. Fortunately, this large tree growing in a fault sheltered me from the water flow, preventing the area from flooding. I checked the time on my phone and paused. I had slept for 12 hours. Although it was still cloudy outside, it was indeed already 1 p.m. I immediately listened attentively to the sounds around me, noticing nothing but the rain, and then slowly unzipped the tent. The camouflage fabric was intact, and no one had intruded during the night. With this rain, the traces of my departure last night would have been mostly washed away. That man would probably not find me anytime soon. Outside it was raining, so I stayed inside the tent and pulled out a self-heating hot pot and a cola from my bag, then started checking my phone while eating. I didn't know why the cruise had a zombie outbreak in my previous life, nor why I had received this infinite backpack, but I knew that this island was not a place to stay for long. And if there was any hope, I should seek rescue as soon as possible. Ever since the cruise ship, my phone had no signal, and on this deserted island, I received no messages at all. Looking at the messages I sent to my parents, all marked with red exclamation points, I reluctantly put away my phone and started organizing the supplies in my backpack. Relying solely on the resources I swept from the supermarket wouldn't last long, as cruise ship passengers didn't need to cook for themselves. So my backpack was mainly filled with snacks and instant food, things like instant noodles, potato chips, chocolate, spicy noodles, and self-heating meals were plentiful enough to keep me from starving in the short term. I also roughly checked my drinking water, including soft drinks and purified water. After scanning an entire shelf of goods, I currently have no worries about supplies, but in the long run, it could become an issue. Looking at the heavy rain outside, I felt it necessary to plan ahead. I immediately pulled out the portable set of pots and pans I had collected from the camping area and placed them in an open space. Although the rainwater might not be clean, it is at least fresh water. Once boiled and filtered, it could serve as a drinkable water source. It's uncertain how long I'll end up staying on this island, so conserving resources is crucial for me. As for other items, I grabbed a bunch of quick-dry clothing, toilet paper, sanitary pads, and cleaning supplies. I made sure to also pack a flint, a windproof lighter, and some portable toolboxes. I even swept up some cat food, canned cat food, and catnip water from the pet section into my backpack. Though these are pet supplies, my gut feeling told me they might come in handy against zombies. At least the pet bells tied outside are proving useful now. I also grabbed other miscellaneous items like umbrellas, raincoats, slippers, sunglasses, and towels. As for weapons, I found none. After all, it's unlikely to find lethal weapons in a cruise ship's supermarket, but surely, there must be some outdoor knives, forks, or scissors for camping, right? Determined, I searched through every storage compartment. Finally, fortune favored my persistence. Hidden behind a portable chopping board, I found a folded ceramic knife stuck on the back. This knife, extending a few centimeters when unfolded and only 8 centimeters when retracted, fits perfectly in one hand. I immediately took the knife out and concealed it horizontally between the buckles of my double-layer belt as a last resort self-defense weapon. With this, I felt less vulnerable. As the rain outside grew heavier, the sound somewhat relaxed me, and I decided to lie back down to catch some more sleep. When I woke up a few hours later, the rain had lessened a bit. I stored all the collected rainwater into a water bag and packed it into my backpack. Just as I was finishing packing, my fingertips touched a cold, silver necklace. Frowning, I pulled it out from the storage locker. When had I picked this up, I had no recollection of it. Bringing it closer for inspection, entwined at the end of the metal chain was a silver metal tag, weathered and scratched from use. Looking carefully in the light, the front bore the name Finian, and below it, an OCT23X, Type B, a dog tag. Perhaps, staring at those letters and numbers, they suddenly seemed familiar. Recalling that night on the cruise under the moonlight, the tattoo on the man's arm was identical to this one. But how did this end up in my bag? In a flash of realization, I began searching through all the storage compartments again. Sure enough, I soon found an item in my backpack that wasn't mine, a black box. So The guy on the beach thought my backpack was empty and took it for his own, stuffing his belongings inside. Amused, I continued searching for more items, but unfortunately, besides the black box and the dog tag, there was nothing else. I took out the black box, finding it surprisingly heavy for its small size. It was a 10-centimeter square box with a matte black finish, the material unidentifiable, surrounded by a faint seam, suggesting it could be opened. However, despite my efforts, the box wouldn't budge. So, what exactly is this thing? Looking at the dog tag, the man's name must be Finian. Since he ended up on this island with me, it means he must have also lost his life raft and landed here. It's hard to imagine him fighting through a horde of zombies with only these inedible, undrinkable items, after surviving so many days by jumping into the sea. I realized the importance of the item I carried with me. Wait a minute, now that I have it, he must be going crazy looking for me. This thought made me suddenly look around cautiously, recalling the first time we met, the man's prowess beneath the food cart, and his formidable skills outside the cabin. My gaze fell on the letters on the metal military tag, and I instantly understood something. I now have a strong suspicion that this guy is likely an assassin from some organization. When I first got on the cruise, I heard there were important people aboard. Who knows if he was sent to assassinate someone? In an instant, I broke out in a cold sweat. This was indeed a tough situation. Shivering, I wondered, was there a chance I could secretly return the items to him so he wouldn't kill me? No, impossible. The first time we met, I did nothing but bump into him while he was dragging someone. He looked at me as if I were already dead, indicating he never intended to let me go from the start. Moreover, yesterday I ran away with his bag, and now his military tag is in my hands, essentially blowing my cover. If he catches me, I'd probably die without even knowing how. Despite being reborn multiple times, I'm no match for a professional assassin. As I pondered my next move, I continued searching through my backpack and finally found a pair of binoculars. That night, when the rain stopped and it was almost completely dark, I stealthily climbed a towering tree where I was staying. It wasn't long before I saw smoke rising in the direction of the setting sun. The distance seemed farther than the area I had left yesterday. He appeared to have moved a few hundred meters along the beach. Strangely, with everything lost, why wasn't he in a hurry to find me? But soon I figured it out. He probably thought I couldn't escape, so he planned to slowly exhaust me on the island. But I had food, drink, and a place to stay, which he didn't, if he wanted to wear me down. I'd engage in guerrilla warfare on this island and wear him out instead. Having determined his location, I immediately looked in the opposite direction. The island's terrain was lower in the west and higher in the east, with 2/3 of the western coast being the pebbly beach I saw yesterday, while the east was entirely cliffs. The cliffs were far from the coast, and there was nothing to eat there. Given his current situation, he would definitely stay near the west side at night, where, despite everything, the daily tides would bring some shellfish ashore to stave off hunger. If he risked coming to the cliffs to find me, it wasn't certain he could return before dark. My tree was too conspicuous. If he was determined to search, he would eventually find it, so it was better to move without delay. Taking advantage of the darkness, I quickly packed my things, stuffed everything back into my backpack, and ran towards the eastern cliffs with my flashlight. There was almost no path between the weeds and trees on the island. I ran through the bushes, nearly out of the woods, when suddenly, a dark figure who had been waiting in the tree above abruptly dropped in front of me, seizing my neck. Looking up, Finian, who should have been on the west coast, smiled menacingly. "Caught you," he said. I gasped, realizing that the smoke on the west coast was a trap. He pinned me against a tree. "Your cunning really didn't disappoint me," he said. As I remained silent, he grabbed my backpack, opened it, and started to empty it quickly. However, after a few shakes, he found nothing. His gaze turned colder as he looked at me. "Hand it over, or don't force me to strip off your skin as well." "Why so aggressive?" I'll give it to you. It's not like I stole it. You're the one who misplaced it." Facing the murderous intent in the man's eyes, I swallowed nervously and reached into my bag. A second later, the bag was snatched away, and I was pinned against a tree by my neck again, trying to pull a fast one. During his words, his hand had already reached to my waist. He searched all my pockets, appropriate and otherwise, but ultimately found nothing. "Where did you throw it?" Feeling almost choked to death, I quickly raised my hands. "Let me go first, then I'll tell you where it is." Finian looked at me for a long moment, then chuckled. "Doesn't matter, I can always turn this island upside down. That would be better than letting you live." Seeing a glint of cold light from his fingertips, I gasped and cried out loudly, "Wait, only I can touch what's inside that bag. But if I die, you'll never get it. If you don't believe me, use my hand to reach inside." The blade stopped an inch from my neck. "On your deathbed, you still spin tales." If you were so afraid of dying, what were you doing earlier? I gritted my teeth and shifted my neck slightly. I'm not lying. You searched the bag. There was nothing. What tricks could I possibly play by putting my hand in? If I can't produce it, you can kill me later. It seemed my reasoning held, and Finian withdrew the blade but kept his grip on my neck. With a flick of his foot, he picked up the backpack from the ground and held it out to me. Take something out for me to see. I immediately reached into the bag, and as countless storage compartments appeared before me, I quickly located the black box and his military tag, but my hand paused, not taking the box. Instead, I hooked my fingertips around the military tag and a chilled beer from the bag. As I pulled a frosty beer out of the seemingly empty backpack, Finian was initially stunned. As the silver military tag appeared, he grabbed both my hand and the items in it. The cold beer still frosted up the moment it met the air, with the silver tag wrapped around it, soon giving off a slight chill. Such items were unlikely to be found on this deserted island. Finian's expression changed instantly. Cough, cough, cough. I didn't lie. Right, now let me go. So that's it. No wonder you were raiding the warehouse. Just as I started to chuckle, his grip tightened again. There's another black box. I quickly waved my hand. Bro, I really can't find it anymore. There's too much stuff. Just from the warehouse alone, I picked up so many cotton swabs, toothpicks, condoms right in front of you. How am I supposed to know where you threw your stuff? Finian pulled me up by the collar again. Playing tricks. Huh. I clicked my tongue. No, be reasonable. You were the one who threw your stuff in. The bag is so full. How would I know where you put it? Don't I need time to find it for you? Our gazes locked for a long time before he nodded and finally loosened his grip. I thought he had compromised, and just as I was about to step back, my neck felt cold again. 1 minute. Now, immediately, bring it out. Hey, 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 don't just threaten me with death. All right, I'll look. As I spoke, I just sat down cross-legged on the spot, digging out one sewing kit after another, a disposable toothbrush here, a disposable hotel towel there. Just as I pulled out the 30th disposable hotel towel, Finian clicked his tongue. Just as he was about to speak, a familiar roar echoed from the surrounding woods. I shuddered and looked up to see a zombie flinging its tongue as it lunged from the darkness. Damn it. In the heat of the moment, Finian instinctively delivered a flying kick, sending the zombie's head flying. I didn't have time to waste either. I immediately grabbed a can of catnip spray from the storage compartment and started frantically spraying it around. Finian was still cutting down zombies left and right when he smelled the strange odor and frowned at me. Are you spraying perfume at a time like this? The zombies are drawn by the smell of blood. This is catnip. It can confuse their sense of smell. Sure enough, the next second, the zombies that were closing in began to spin in place. Finian glanced back at me and said, "Not bad. You've got something there," I replied with a sheepish grin. Thanks. Frowning, Finian said, "But isn't this a deserted island? We've been here a day and a night and haven't seen a soul. Where did all these zombies come from?" As more zombies appeared, Finian spat disgustedly and took a few steps back. "Let's get out of here first." But when he turned around, he realized I had already run off. Seeing me sprint to one side, Finian almost laughed in exasperation. Then his face darkened as he chased after me. I hadn't gone far when he grabbed me by the back of my neck. "The catnip scent won't last long, and he's wounded. Isn't this an opportunity for me?" Without hesitation, I pulled a small knife from my waist and swung at him, but our blades clashed, instantly shattering my poor quality ceramic knife. "Damn, is it that bad?" Watching my knife break, Finian laughed. "I knew it. You must have something for self-defense, so it was hidden in your belt." Annoyed, I retorted, "Nonsense, you're trying to kill me. Shouldn't I defend myself? Besides, I have no quarrel with you. Why would you attack me like a madman?" Raising an eyebrow, Finian knocked the handle from my hand. "You talk big for a thief, miss. Calling me a killer. What about you? A petty thief." I tried to kick him, but he dodged. Already anticipating my move, I feinted and ran forward. I didn't want to take it. "You put it in my bag yourself. You dare run." Finian reached out to grab my wrist again, but as I saw the sheer cliff suddenly before me, I stopped dead in my tracks. I turned, using the momentum to grab his arm, and with a look of surprise in his eyes, I threw him towards the cliff. "Off you go." But Finian couldn't stop in time. However, as he passed by, he hooked my leg, pulling me down with him. In an instant, we both tumbled down the cliff, entangled. When I regained my senses, I felt like I had fallen apart, lying on a steep slope. The dark waves below crashed against the cliff, and I was barely hanging on, my arm held by someone at the brink of falling. Looking up, I saw Finian's military knife firmly lodged in a crevice about 10 meters below the cliff edge, his right hand gripping my arm, refusing to let go. There I was, sprawled on the slightly inclined cliff face, blood oozing from a gash on my left leg, a complete mess. Moonlight shone above, and the zombies, drawn by the scent of blood, were now clawing their way over the edge of the cliff, scrambling and lunging towards us. The two of us hanging there was already a miracle. If a zombie fell on us, we would both plunge into the sea with no chance of survival. As we spoke, a zombie leapt from above. Finian and I clung desperately to the cliff wall. Feeling the zombie's body nearly brush against us, he plunged into the sea. I'm Finian from the Special Operations of the 7th Fleet offshore from Country C, code NOCT-23X. Facing the zombies above, Finian's gaze turned ice cold. Now tell me, how did you anticipate the zombie outbreak and come to possess this backpack? What exactly is your relationship with the 773 Research Center in Country M? This is your last chance. If I'm not satisfied with your answer, I won't hesitate to take you down with me. The roaring sound of the waves kept coming from below. Take me down with him, I shuddered. Wait, what was he talking about? What's this 733 Research Center? Aren't you a mercenary assassin? The man paused, then incredulously lowered his head. Assassin, you think I'm an assassin? I clung to the rock wall, heart still racing, as I continued to eye the height below. Yeah, when I boarded the cruise ship, I heard there were VIPs on board. Weren't you the hired assassin here to carry out a hit? I've seen it in movies. That day I saw you killing someone. I thought you were tying up loose ends, so I took off running with that backpack. It's just a trick, nothing special, but this 733 thing, I really don't know. I was just stealing some stuff on the ship. Who knew zombies would show up? Listening to my half-true, half-false story, the man was completely speechless. Which eye of yours saw me kill anyone? I just knocked someone out to borrow their clothes. Seeing Finian's saber move slightly downward. He suddenly pulled my wrist upwards forcefully. Can you hold on any longer? What? He gritted his teeth and looked upwards. There's a cave on the left. I'll swing you over first. I paused. And what about you? Finian exhaled. If I can get the items out, my mission is completed. Remember, the black box in your backpack is a control agent sample from the 733 Research Center in Country M. Hand it over to the military in Country C, and they can quickly produce a virus-resistant antidote. As he tossed his metal military tag which he held in his mouth over to me, I grabbed it. His gaze swept down. My military tag has a satellite tracking chip. Stay in the cave, and someone will come to rescue you. The next second, Finian used his saber as a pivot and swung me through the air towards the cave. With a powerful force, I was flung to the side, and a cave platform appeared in front of me. In an instant, the man let go. The huge inertia flung me out, and my injured left leg violently hit the platform, sending a painful jolt through me. Quickly recovering, I crawled a bit further away from the edge of the cave. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, I saw the man outside the cave nearly falling down. Finian, in his effort to get me across, caused the saber wedged in the crevice to rapidly descend 3 or 4 meters. If he had thrown me into the sea, he might have been able to make it to the cave himself, but now he couldn't make it across on his own. Hey, you were about to kill me just now, and now you trust me to hand over the items. The man looked down at the seawater below, then raised his eyes to me. I don't trust you, but I'm betting you don't want to die. As long as you want to live, you'll wait for rescue, and as long as you hand over that black box, Country C won't question your identity. I don't care who you are, but I know you're afraid of dying. And you wouldn't risk your life for a black box. His words left me speechless. He was right. I was very afraid of dying. But quickly, I realized what was needed and immediately found the climbing rope in my bag. I stood up, searched around, then tied the rope securely around a protruding rock in the cave, and threw the other end toward him. Hey, catch this. Finian was caught off guard by the rope throw. He hesitated for a moment but then instinctively grabbed it and swiftly wrapped it around his hand 3 times. He glanced at me, seemingly gauging the distance. Before I could see clearly, I noticed his combat knife loosen completely. With a snap, his arm's veins bulged as he forcefully wedged the knife into another crevice in the rock, holding the knife in one hand and leveraging the rope with the other. He braced his feet against the rock wall, his muscles tense throughout his body. Feeling the rope was relatively secure, Finian didn't hesitate and kicked against the rock wall. To my astonishment, he used the rope's tension to swiftly traverse the rock face. He moved like a nimble goat, quickly shifting laterally across the cliff before leaping into the air, swinging straight onto the rock wall beneath the cave. During this, the friction between the rope and the cave mouth was intense. I watched anxiously, fearing it might snap. But it turned out that the expensive rope was worth every penny. Seeing this, I couldn't help but admire his incredible core strength. Even though he was hanging in midair, he managed to climb up to the cave with just a climbing rope. What kind of physical condition was that? While the man on the other side was agile, the wound on my leg left me too weak to stand. I leaned against the rock, watching Finian climb up using the rope. Then I took out a black box from my bag and threw it to him along with his military tag. Don't play the martyr with me, finish your own mission. Moonlight streamed into the cave, and Finian was still kneeling against the light, his expression unclear. Seeing him motionless, I was about to speak when, unexpectedly, the once agile man suddenly collapsed to the ground with a thud. Seeing that he didn't get up for a long time, I was stunned. Hey, don't you die on me. 13. I had prepared quite a few things for this honeymoon trip. Fortunately, I had the foresight to pack my suitcase in the backpack as well, which contained not only clothes and documents but also an emergency medical kit that I had insisted on packing despite advice to the contrary. After all, buying medicine abroad might not be as effective as bringing it from home, because the wound on my leg was so deep. I bit into a bundle of clothes and closed my eyes as I poured alcohol over it to disinfect the wound, but I soon regretted it. As the intense pain hit, I almost wanted to roll on the ground in agony. After finally treating and bandaging my wound, soaking wet, I approached the unconscious Finian. I shone the flashlight carefully and saw that he had various wounds on his shoulders, arms, and back, which due to the recent intense activity, had become swollen, inflamed, and were even bleeding. I touched his forehead and immediately recoiled from the heat. I didn't know how many injuries he had, but most of them were definitely not new from this island. Seeing how he had just been jumping around on the rock wall like nothing was wrong, I thought he was incredibly lucky, but he was already at the end of his strength. Who would have thought he was a soldier from country C's overseas navy? Military men are supposed to be upright, not roguelike. When he stopped me in the warehouse, I even thought he had ill intentions. Now that I knew he was on a mission, I didn't dare delay any longer. I immediately found antibiotics in the med kit, shoved them down his throat, and then gave him plenty of water. Watching his Adam's apple move, I finally breathed a sigh of relief, grateful that I still had some autonomy over the situation. However, this was not a sustainable solution. His injuries needed immediate attention. I quickly pulled out various supplies from my backpack, boiled some water, and then used a hotel towel to sterilize it before thoroughly cleaning his wounds. As the bloodstains washed away, I noticed a knife wound around his waist, which he had bandaged himself earlier. It must have happened the day I met him, during a fight with someone. I had no idea how he managed to survive and wash ashore, but he must have spent quite some time in the sea. It's incredible how he survived such severe injuries up to this point. As the night wind picked up, I took out a tent and an inflatable mattress, and with some effort, dragged him inside. Finian seemed to be delirious from the fever. Aside from a reflexive twitch when I disinfected his wounds with alcohol, he seemed to have passed out. I didn't bring much medicine, but I had enough for emergency care of external injuries. After bandaging all his wounds, I felt utterly exhausted. I had planned to cook some food, but my leg was in severe pain, and I was drained of energy. Eventually, I didn't care about propriety anymore. I just pulled out a blanket from my bag, collapsed, and fell into a deep sleep. Since boarding the cruise ship, my dreams had been restless every night, but this time, I slept deeply and dreamlessly. When I awoke, it was the smell of instant noodles that roused me. Blinking in confusion, I realized I was alone in the tent. The sound of the ocean waves crashing against the rocks continued outside. I suddenly pulled open the tent flap and saw Finian cooking instant noodles using the pot I had brought out. I never would have guessed you were a university lecturer. I paused, noticing my open suitcase and the copies of my identity documents from my travels inside. Hasn't anyone taught you that it's rude to go through other people's belongings? Besides, I saved your life. I gave him a cold look and started to step outside, but accidentally aggravated my wound. I gasped and looked down, noticing that the dressing on my leg had been changed and rewrapped more professionally than I had managed. Looking up again, Finian was holding out a bowl of noodles to me. Then, without concern for his own injuries, he sat down cross-legged outside the tent. I think we've had some misunderstandings. Maybe we should talk. I took the bowl from him. Now that you know who I am, what is this 7th Fleet offshore you're part of? Finian didn't hold back any longer, looking out towards the sea and explaining, it's not surprising you don't know the existence of the 7th Fleet offshore, especially the Special Task Force, is hardly known. We're an organization under the offshore fleet of Country C, dedicated to inspecting the transportation of hazardous materials at sea. So, what? Like a narcotics officer, that's one way to understand it. We received orders 3 days before the cruise ship set sail that a group of government officials disguised as vacationers would be transporting pathogens. I boarded the ship to intercept these hazardous materials. I thought they were just using the cruise for transportation, but it turned out that the entire crew was in on it. I had no choice but to knock out a crew member and infiltrate their operations, only managing to secure this black box. The zombie outbreak probably started during our fight, when some of the pathogen samples were broken. Looking at the black box in his hands, I was stunned. So, this zombie outbreak was intentional. Wait, what does this have to do with me? Why are you holding me here? Seeing my puzzled expression, Finian scanned me from head to toe. When I encountered you, I was about to change clothes and leave. I noticed you acting suspiciously and thought you were after the black box, so I decided to detain you in the storage room. No wonder he looked so fierce, as if he wanted me dead from the moment he saw me. Please, I came here for my honeymoon, right? I saw your marriage certificate. Your name is Giselle. Your husband's name is Felix. And you just got married a month ago. Thinking back to what happened on the cruise, my expression turned a bit colder, and then I took a couple of sips from my bowl of soup. Actually, before I met you, I was already dead. I counted on my fingers, 12, no, 14. Finian looked up at me with a complicated expression. Years, times, after I finished, Finian visibly relaxed, then he felt he shouldn't have. I waved my hand. I know you don't believe it, and I find it hard to believe too. After all, I used to be a kind-hearted person, but I've experienced death 14 times, tried dying 14 times. Brother, do you know what that feels like? I'm almost numb to it. Finian reluctantly followed my logic and asked, were all those 14 times caused by zombies? I shook my head. Every time, a zombie outbreak would recur on the cruise, and each time, my husband would push me into the sea because the lifeboats were full. No, this is the 15th time, and I don't want to die again. So I tied up my husband and his lover in the cabin and escaped. It's strange when I think about it. You clearly saw that there were many lifeboats on the ship, so why were only 5 functional? This cruise makes so much money every trip. Don't they regularly check the emergency equipment? Actually, Finian didn't believe it, but when I mentioned that only 5 lifeboats were functional, he was stunned. If he remembered correctly, all the lifeboats were thrown into the sea only after we left. And indeed, after he left first, only 3 lifeboats on the ship were still usable. Weren't there only 5 in total? Finian's brow furrowed in an instant. So you really were reborn 15 times. Not just that, you've also seen this bag. Do you think it can be explained by science? Saying so, I pulled the small backpack over, randomly reached inside, and pulled out a large outdoor tent and a long inflatable mattress. Finian stared at the items I took out of the bag, completely dumbfounded. This had already exceeded the realm of metaphysics and ventured into science fiction. Seeing him in a daze, I didn't hesitate to push the items in front of him. With that said, after you finish eating, please set this up too. No need to be polite. Finian mentioned that his military plate had a chip for positioning, but we waited in the cave for 3 or 4 days without any sign. Zombies, attracted by the lingering scent of blood, kept falling off the cliff one after another. Now, looking up, there were almost no zombies left on the cliff edge. Finian believed that the zombies on the lifeboat were likely mixed with mutated ones, which, due to ocean currents, ended up on the same island as us. I wasn't as concerned about the zombies as I was about another issue he mentioned. According to the military's information, not only were their ships infiltrated by personnel exchanging pathogens, this batch of pathogens, likely mass-produced by the M Countries Research Center 733 and transported worldwide through highly sealed maritime routes, would allow them to negotiate directly with various countries due to their possession of the control agent. If a ship reached the port of C country, the consequences would be unimaginable. With C country's massive population base, if the pathogen were massively replicated and spread, the probability of ordinary people surviving was minimal, and the first thing I thought of was my own parents. The messages from my phone still couldn't get out, and every day in the cave, I was anxious. You don't need to worry too much. Every cruise ship has special agents on board. After obtaining the black box, I reported the exact route location, and by now, the fleet has probably already sent troops to intercept. That would be for the best. They were worried that each rescue team arriving at the ship might end up infecting one another, given they were unaware of the situation on board. Meanwhile, other cruise ships had already reached the mainland, which spelled trouble. After nursing our injuries for a few days, once both of us could move freely, we started planning our escape. If the military still hadn't found us, we would need to make our way into a region with signal to contact them, now unified in purpose, to leave the place as soon as possible, hand over the black box to the military, and then go our separate ways, myself returning home and him rejoining his unit. Our interactions were no longer tense. The cave was about 7 or 8 meters above sea level, and judging by the corrosion on the surrounding rock surfaces, Finian and I concluded that the area would definitely experience high tide. With a major goal in mind, our primary task was to leave the cave and return to the deserted island to create a conspicuous distress signal. I simply listed all the resources we had in my backpack: an inflatable mattress, climbing rope, yoga mat, empty water bottles, an umbrella, clothes hangers. With these items, it was not inconceivable to construct a makeshift raft and paddle our way back to the west coast. Tides and ocean currents became crucial factors, Finian having worked with the fleet knew much more about the ocean than I did. On the third night, Finian and I got our things ready early. The bright emergency light fully illuminated the cave, while the sound of the waves striking the rock walls below was clearer than in the previous days. Finian, dressed in a black quick-dry shirt I found in my bag, lay at the entrance listening for a long time, until a wave crashed through and he immediately scratched a mark on the rock wall with his military knife. Feeling the height of the mark, he then stood up. It's about time. He had been monitoring the water level these past few days, noticing it was rising, which led us to immediately start preparing to leave. When I pulled the fourth inflatable mattress from the backpack to start inflating it, Finian, holding a glow stick I gave him, cut one open and directly poured the liquid into the sea. If this was filmed, you'd be blasted online. Blasted online, for polluting the environment, man. Finian snorted coldly. When it comes to survival, all else is irrelevant. He watched the direction in which the fluorescent liquid swirled in the sea, then turned back to help me as we used climbing ropes to tie the inflatable mattresses together. There are no reefs on this side of the cliff. We can get into the water here. Hearing his words, I nodded. It was still a risky endeavor. After all, these were inflatable mattresses, not proper boats. A slightly larger wave could mean the end for both of us. We had survived previously because the currents had pushed us to the island, but now it was all up to fate. Finian was cutting the outer shell of a plastic toy, folding the plastic and tightly wrapping it with cling film around a broom's steel handle, finally stuffing foam boards into the plastic shell and sealing it. He made 2 such makeshift paddles, while I continued to reinforce the raft's bottom. Over the past few days, we had used up quite a bit of bottled water. Those plastic bottles were fixed around the raft to maintain balance. Moreover, to ensure the inflatable boat wasn't damaged by the rocks, I tied a thick layer of foam at the bottom. Is this good enough? Finian turned to look at the fortified raft, raising his eyebrows. By the way, what do you teach at university? Psychology. Wow, I thought it was a crafts class. But looking at your mentality, facing such emergencies, your self-regulation is not bad. Sometimes, when you're speechless, you really don't want to talk. I took it as a compliment, though, as the seawater rose bit by bit, until the area half a meter below the cave was submerged. Daylight was already breaking. Finian and I together pushed the newly made inflatable boat into the sea. Seeing the raft steadily floating on the water, we finally breathed a sigh of relief. Wait here for a moment, I'll go down and try first. The hovercraft was securely tied to a rock outside the cave, so there was no worry of it drifting away. Seeing Finian jump down and the boat remained stable, he then reached out his hand to me. Come on. I slung my backpack over my shoulder, handed him the paddle, and then I jumped down too. Once we were both seated securely on the boat and saw that everything was fine, Finian immediately unfastened the carabiner on the climbing rope. Thanks to the calm sea, our journey back to the west coast went smoothly without any incidents. Upon reaching the sandy beach of the west coast, our attention was drawn to a few life rafts stuck among the rocks. Just as he had said, the people on the rafts had been infected and were also carried to this island by the currents. After we pushed the boat ashore, we directly packed it into the backpack. This backpack was oddly consuming. Anything that partly entered its pocket seemed to be sucked in completely, which was quite unsettling. Several times Finian looked at the backpack reluctantly and even took care to throw it a bit farther away during breaks. I looked at him. Is it really necessary? It's just a backpack. It doesn't eat people. I even tried stuffing my husband into it once, and it didn't take him. Finian's complexion worsened at my words. Okay, enough. I don't want to hear any more. It was then I realized that despite his tough exterior, Finian might have some aversion to mystical things. You're not afraid of zombies, but you're scared of a backpack. Finian changed the subject and looked towards the woods. There are still many zombies in there. To be completely safe, we need to lure them all out. He instructed me to start a fire while he ran into the woods. Finian was indeed efficient. After I set up a wind-sheltered fire circle by the beach, he soon emerged carrying a wild rabbit, its blood dripping everywhere, and he threw it directly into the center of the fire circle. Finian signaled me to find a rock to climb on and wait. Sure enough, soon a horde of zombies, howling, chased the scent of blood and swarmed into the fire circle. Finian then sealed off the circle and threw several rolls of toilet paper inside to fuel the flames. As the flames rose higher, the screaming of the zombies eventually faded into silence. The fire burned for a whole day, and neither Finian nor I continued to watch. Instead, we went back into the woods to search. Eventually, we returned near the cliff and used the same method to ignite another fire circle, drawing in and incinerating the remaining zombies to ensure safety. Thick smoke billowed from 2 locations on the deserted island for a long time, under the clear sky. They would surely be visible to any rescuers, but even so, by nightfall, rescue had still not arrived. Life on the deserted island wasn't rich in resources, but with plentiful tools in Finian's skilled hands, we occasionally managed to eat some game. As rescue was delayed and communication signals were continuously disrupted, anxiety began to gnaw at me. Seemingly noticing my anxiety, Finian sighed and pulled me into the woods. Just waiting here isn't going to solve anything. Since no one has come to rescue us yet, let's save ourselves. Watching Finian touch here and look there in the woods, I frowned. How do we save ourselves? By paddling out in an inflatable boat. The small raft we left the cave with couldn't possibly withstand the sea's waves. We need to build a bigger and sturdier boat, at least sturdy enough to get us to a place where we can receive a signal. That makes sense, but do you know how to build a boat? Finian glanced at me. It's better than you being anxious all day. Let's get to work. A fulfilling daily life keeps one physically and mentally healthy, right, Giselle? Even at times like this, he remains positive, optimistic, and full of action. I truly admire him. Although we had never built a boat before, among the toy models I had randomly swept into my backpack at the supermarket, we found a handmade sailboat that needed assembling. Initially, I thought it was just wooden and planned to use it as firewood later. But now it turned out to be incredibly useful. This boat required us to remove the parts from the wooden planks and assemble them ourselves. We decided to first assemble it according to the blueprint, tested it on the water, and indeed, it could navigate. With a sensible use of the sails, we could sail swiftly. Seeing this, Finian and I began to create a full-scale replica, armed with a toolbox. We entered the forest and began sawing down trees with a wire saw. It was my first time using such a tool, and I couldn't help but doubt, can this really cut down a tree? Finian, wearing a pair of gloves, was pulling the wire saw so fast it almost smoked, but he didn't stop. When you were raiding the supermarket, did you even look at what these were for? With the rush, who had time to check? If it weren't for your meddling, I might have left without even seeing the zombies. So it's my fault now. If you hadn't met me, you probably wouldn't even know what happened on the cruise. With no signal on the island, what would you have done? I leaned to the side, whittling a stick with a knife. What could I do? If something happened to the cruise, someone would come looking. If all else failed, I'd just settle on this island, take things one step at a time, rather than worrying needlessly and exhausting ourselves. Better to think about what's for dinner. Saying this, I put down my things and walked away. Finian wiped his sweat and watched me go. Where are you going? To take a bath in the stream? Follow me, and I'll kill you. The stream on the deserted island was discovered by Finian. We usually drew water from upstream, using the downstream pond for bathing and washing clothes. Although Finian looked somewhat rugged, he was a soldier and, despite his rough speech, a fundamentally decent person. Still, I didn't completely trust the situation. So I strung a line with a pet bell 10 meters away as a warning and hung camouflage material in our direction before feeling secure enough to enter the water. I immersed myself and let out a deep breath. I wondered how my parents were doing, and if everything was all right at home. Felix and I had always been exemplary in front of others, and our parents thought highly of him, but who would have thought he would betray me, even planning my murder for money, with each day on this island. I longed to return home, yet, I also feared it. I dreaded returning to the house we had lived in together. I feared the questions from my parents, the encounters with our mutual friends. If only it were all just a nightmare. I soaked in the pool until all my negative emotions were drained, then washed up briefly and got out. When I returned, drying my hair, Finian had already sawed down 3 trees. Each tree here was tall, and after cutting, each needed to be further processed. Seeing him sweating profusely, I told him to take a bath and rest while I continued shaping the cut trees. The two of us worked efficiently. In just half a month, we had gathered all the wood strips required by the manual, but when we tried to chisel joints for the wooden frame, we realized that such precise cuts required machinery. Relying solely on our manual chiseling, it was impossible in such a short time. Moreover, the ship's sides required resilient wooden beams, which we could hardly achieve by merely shaping the cut wood. After staring at the woodwork with furrowed brows for a while, I gestured dismissively and stood up to grab some rope. Since there's not much on this island besides an abundance of trees, we might as well make the raft bigger and deeper, constructing it similarly to a catamaran. Otherwise, in stormy weather, that kind of boat wouldn't necessarily be any better than ours. After all, encountering a major storm would be a life-or-death situation. At that point, any vessel other than a cruise ship would inevitably take on some seawater. Finian also agreed that my reasoning made sense, and eventually, we stopped concerning ourselves with the original blueprints. Together, we gathered the wood and first tied it into a 6-square-meter wide raft. Then we found numerous thinner pieces of wood to reinforce the bottom of the raft. This caused us to run out of wood again. Finian and I went back to the forest to speed up our chopping efforts. This time, both of us worked simultaneously, specifically selecting thinner trunks. In just a few days, we had gathered 4 or 5 bundles. Eventually, the entire frame of the boat, bolstered by bundles of thin branches on both sides, was half a meter tall, and we filled the gaps around it with rows of empty water bottles to ensure buoyancy. With this setup, the boat was definitely able to float. But to prevent it from capsizing in heavy waves, we still needed to add more. Finian and I found some thicker logs, cut them short, and fixed them around the perimeter of the raft. Then in the middle, we built a small wooden hut using thinner branches to provide shelter from the wind and rain. After all, leaving this island, we didn't know how long it would take to find a signal. It was essential to have a survival space on the boat. For stability, we installed several more 5-liter empty water bottles around the cabin. The water originally in the bottles was all transferred into plastic bags and stored, so it wasn't wasted. Finally, we erected a 4-meter-high tree trunk at the back of the cabin, using climbing ropes and a waterproof bed cover to make a sail. After the boat had been floating for 3 days, tied to a tree on the shore and drifting out about 10 meters. We both stayed on board through a storm to check the boat's stability and made immediate repairs as necessary. A month later, once the boat had withstood a storm, we officially set sail. Sitting on the boat, watching the deserted island gradually fade away, it was impossible not to feel anxious, but faced with the choice between waiting to die here or going out to seek hope, we chose the latter. Maybe all the major storms had hit us on the cruise ship and the deserted island because after drifting on the sea for a week, aside from a brief torrential downpour, we barely encountered any waves. On the vast blue sea, nothing but water stretched to the horizon. Wearing sunglasses, I stood on the deck and noticed the wind was blowing east, so I lowered the sail. Finian, sitting at the edge of the boat wearing a sun hat I had taken from my backpack and chewing on a toothpick, hadn't had any action on his fishing rod. Feeling the boat suddenly pick up speed, he finally reeled in his line, stood up, and threw a fishing net overboard before going back inside to drink some water. Still no signal on your phone. I shook my head, and it wasn't just the lack of a signal. The phone's battery life was also a problem. When I ransacked the supermarket, I didn't take much else. But I nearly cleared out all the power banks, although we still had 10 left. Using one meant one fewer. And it was uncertain whether they would last until we found a signal. The wind's been pretty strong lately. According to this wind direction, we should be able to receive a signal sooner or later. I pinched my forehead. Honestly, I've never hated the sea so much. But you seem quite accustomed to life at sea. Nonsense. We were stationed with the fleet, spending most of the year at sea. How could I not be accustomed to life at sea if I wasn't fit for this kind of field assignment? Previously on the island, I could find places to release my negative emotions alone, but on the boat, once my negative feelings reached a peak, I would break down, unable to do anything effectively. I felt disheartened and had no energy left to talk. After dinner, Finian knocked on my door and asked me to step outside. I wasn't sleepy anyway, so I opened the door and walked out. "What's up? I've got something great to show you." Something great? Had he found a cruise ship? Finian sat at the bow and gestured for me to sit down. I sat next to him, staring blankly at the dark sea, and the next second, a pair of hands pressed my shoulders back. As I laid back on the deck, the endless galaxy filled my vision. Looking at the dazzling starry sky, I felt as if the sea breeze had suddenly stopped, and all of heaven and earth had turned serene. When I was a child, my parents were already on the front lines, stationed in the border areas. They always told me over the phone how beautiful the stars were there. Later, I would often run up to the rooftop of my house to count the stars. After all, no matter how far apart we were still under the same starry sky. Look, that's the summer triangle. See how clear it is. And over there, that's Sagittarius. It looks like a teapot. And there's Orion. As he spoke, I stared at the night sky and remained silent for a long while before speaking. "So, where's Scorpius?" Finian paused, then raised his hand and pointed to an orange star above. "See that one?" "Which one?" He leaned closer, trying to guide my hand from my perspective to point it out. "The orange one in the middle of the Milky Way. That's Antares. Starting from it, the large hook connected downwards is the tail of Scorpius." Finian quickly lay back down, gazing at the starry sky with his hands cushioning his head, a look of contentment on his face. "Antares, 550 light-years from Earth. Although its average temperature is only half that of the sun, it's 500 times larger. Pretty amazing, right? It took me a while to recognize it. 550 light-years, that's really far, but you probably can't see this in the city, at least in my city. You're lucky if you can see the moon at night. You hardly ever see the Milky Way like this." Hearing this, Finian was taken aback and then sat up. "Oh, can't you see it in the city? I was hoping to comfort you. You really can't see it." I then realized he was trying to cheer me up because I was feeling homesick. For a moment, I couldn't help but laugh and cry at the same time as I sat up straight. Not to burst your bubble, but the air in the city isn't as good as it is at sea, but having the chance to see such a pure Milky Way is already enough. As I spoke, with a blink in the corner of my eye, it was as if a box of shattered diamonds had been overturned in front of me, and something rapidly poured down. Holy smokes, Finian. Look, this was the first time I called him by his name. Finian was startled, but following my gaze into the night sky, his eyes widened instantly. Damn, what good luck, a meteor. I slapped him on the shoulder. Stop daydreaming, make a wish. Finian quickly closed his eyes. Right, making a wish. Let's wish for an early contact with rescuers, doubling the odds by wishing for the same thing. 1 second it was a beautiful atmosphere, the next it turned into two superstitious cultists. Not only clasping their hands together but even starting to kneel and pray to the meteor. One was a special agent, the other was a prospective public school teacher. At that moment, stranded on the sea, we were driven to wish upon a star, but little did we expect, perhaps it really was a miraculous sign, or maybe it was just luck. While I was still bowing, I felt someone grab my hand. I was about to shake it off with a click of my tongue when I caught Finian's gaze, staring straight ahead. I frowned and followed his line of sight. There, at the junction of the sky and the Milky Way, a halted black cruise ship gradually came into view. We hadn't waited for rescue, but stumbling upon the cruise ship again was something neither Finian nor I had anticipated. Is that our cruise ship? I asked. Finian handed me an oar, and we both started to row swiftly, one on each side. It's pitch dark. Who else could it be? Rescue. Haven't they found this ship yet? Maybe, like you said. The rescue team might have been caught up in it. No matter, there must be a signal on the cruise ship. We can just head to the control room to contact the fleet. After rowing for over an hour, we finally drew close to the silent behemoth. By then, the cruise ship had completely stalled on the sea surface, and the escape ladder was still hanging off the side. There were no floating bodies around the ship, they seemed to have been swept away from their original course by the waves. Upon reaching it, Finian and I didn't dare make any reckless moves. No one knew how many zombies were still on board. Climbing up in the dark was risky, showing our faces might lead to an immediate attack. We decided to wait until daylight to board. The control agent couldn't be used directly. It was necessary to find the first infected subject and extract the serum. Thinking of that first pathogen, my thoughts immediately returned to the dark figure I had first seen on the deck. Finian frowned. Are you saying there was a zombie faster than the others? Yes, it moved swiftly and targeted precisely, unlike the others who clumsily clump together when they smell something. Didn't you see it? You left later than I did. Finian thought carefully, then shook his head. The ones that attacked me later were slower. Maybe the one you mentioned went straight to the cabins to look for live humans. Knowing that daylight would bring a fierce battle, we stayed by the boat and took turns resting through the night. As dawn broke, Finian and I finally approached the ladder with our boat. We climbed up the escape ladder very cautiously, afraid to make any noise. Finian went up first. He checked the situation and seeing no trace of zombies around the side, he climbed over and pulled me up too. Returning to the cruise ship stirred a mix of emotions in me. We both didn't dare to enter the cabins directly as the enclosed environment inside could trap us with zombies, leaving us with no escape, but the control room was inside, and skirting around the outside wouldn't help. The old method, burn it. Finian and I exchanged glances and immediately set to work. In my backpack, I still had the wild chickens and rabbits I had found on the island, which remained just as fresh as when I first put them in. As the flames rose, Finian quickly opened the cabin door and swung the blood-dripping game in the corridor. Soon, the previously silent cabins erupted with increasingly intense footsteps. As a roar burst through the cabin door, Finian and I, doused in catnip, stood behind the flames, watching the zombies fall one by one into the circle of fire. We threw toilet paper into it to intensify the blaze. We burned around every exit of the cabin, but we never saw the particularly fast zombie. Unable to confirm whether it was still on the ship, we became even more cautious. We even coated ourselves with catnip water and, fearing the scent would dissipate, we sprayed ourselves all over with mosquito repellent, making us walking sachets, before we cautiously entered the cabin. In many rooms, there were zombies that hadn't managed to escape. Finian's blade fell swiftly. We resolved the threats one by one. Even I armed myself cautiously with an emergency axe taken from the ship's cabin for self-defense. The two of us fought our way to the control room, but upon seeing the firmly shut doors, none of us dared to enter lightly. As the door was opened, Finian threw in a bloodied wild chicken first. We waited for half a minute, sensing no presence inside. I was about to move, but Finian stopped me. He tilted his head slightly, listening intently, his frown deepening. What's going on? Before he could finish, Finian quickly pushed me aside. The next second, something dropped from the control room's ceiling, swiftly grabbed the wild chicken, and then charged out the door. It moved with the same speed as the dark figure I had first seen on the deck. The shadow, with the chicken in its grasp, chased Finian, who took a right into a corridor, with a saber in one hand and an axe in the other. Finian fought the creature while yelling at me, "There's only one pathogen carrier. Quickly get into the control room and lock the door." I paused, then looked up. "What about you? Don't worry about me, just make sure to get the message out and don't open the door until help arrives." As Finian spoke, he continued to draw the shadow away from the ship. The creature, enraged, did not hesitate to chase after him. Watching Finian's retreating figure, I hesitated no more and decisively entered the control room. After searching around, I finally found the dislodged switch and pushed the electric switch upward, instantly illuminating the entire cruise ship. The next second, the control panel in the control room rebooted, and I immediately started searching through it. I found something resembling a phone, saw a speed dial next to it, and began dialing one by one. Finally, following a crackling sound, a familiar voice came through. "This is the command center of the 7th Fleet in international waters. How may we assist you?" On hearing this voice, I burst into tears of relief, overwhelmed. "This is the Diamond Cruise, due to a pathogen leak from the Research Center 733 causing a zombie outbreak. All cruise passengers have mutated, but Agent NOCT-23X has obtained a control agent, also found direct contact with the pathogen, requesting rapid fleet support for serum extraction." Understood. "Please ensure the cruise remains stationary. Reinforcements are on their way." As we spoke, a figure suddenly crashed against the glass of the control room, startling me. I looked up, feeling a heavy sinking feeling in my chest. It was Finian's body. As he crashed, the glass smeared with a muddy vivid red from his blood. Seeing Finian struggling to roll to the side, the next second, a completely charred zombie also jumped down, landing right where he had been. Clutching the microphone, I nearly froze, then eventually mustered a scream. "Hurry, come quickly, he can't hold on much longer. You must come." After hanging up the phone, I rushed to a side window to see that Finian was limping up from the ground, while the zombie sniffed around above, smelling the blood. This wasn't going to end well. From my backpack, I placed his military dog tags in the black box on the prominent main control panel. Then I quickly ran out of the control room, familiar with the ship's cabin routes due to many rebirths. I went to each cabin entrance, taking out flammable materials from my backpack and lighting them. I didn't care where Finian had run off to. I lit one door after another until I left the last door, through which I indeed saw Finian running through the thick smoke. Since the smoke blocked all entrances, Finian had only one direction to run, while the intense flames and pungent smoke also slowed the zombie down a bit. Seeing Finian appear, I immediately went up to support him by the arm. "Weren't you supposed to stay inside?" Cough, coughing blood. Finian still tried to push me away. "I'm covered in blood now. It will find out soon. This thing is too fast and strong. Wherever I hide." Ignoring his protests, he supported him all the way to the elevator. Finian probably feared it would come back to bother me, so he intentionally led the zombie outside. However, he forgot that outdoors, the zombie's speed was unrestricted. As the two moved through the cabin, howls quickly followed from behind. I decisively took Finian into the elevator. The scent of blood abruptly stopped at the elevator door, enough to leave that zombie puzzled overnight. As the elevator reached the basement, I stood in front of Finian and was the first to raise my axe, severing the neck of a zombie that lunged at us. Then I led him towards the original warehouse door. "You're quite skilled, you could qualify for special services. Shut up and rest for a bit." The doors on the ground floor were ordinary, but the basement warehouse doors were made of iron. If we hid there before rescue, the zombie's strength would be useless. The warehouse door was open. After checking and seeing no one inside, I immediately pushed Finian in, then took out some floral water and poured it one by one outside the door. Finally, I firmly closed the massive door. Finian leaned against the ground, barely breathing, and laughed as he looked around. "Are we back here again? You still have the energy to laugh. Where are you hurt? Let me check." Finian flinched back. "Don't worry, I just fell. I wasn't bitten, otherwise I would have jumped into the sea." I noticed the blood by his mouth and felt uneasy, immediately pulling open his shirt to check. His body was covered with old wounds. No visible external injuries. It must be internal injuries. I started from the back of his neck, moving my hand down, checking around without any reaction from him. Then I moved to the front. To my surprise, he suddenly dodged away, his previously smiling eyes now shifty. "Stop touching, I don't even have a girlfriend." I rolled my eyes at him, immediately following his collarbone, sternum, and ribs downwards. When I pressed on his left ribs, he suddenly trembled violently. I knew it. I quickly found ibuprofen in my bag, fed it to him. and then took out an air mattress, moving him onto it. Thinking back to emergency knowledge I had encountered before, I immediately found some chilled beers, wrapped them in a towel, and applied them to his ribs. Finian lay on the air mattress, feeling the chill and tried to push it away. "It's cold," I frowned. "You should be glad you can still feel the cold." After half an hour of applying ice, it seemed enough, fearing he'd move and make it worse. I found a waistband I had used before for my luggage. The waistband had soft bones for support, but it could only cover half of him. I thought for a moment, took out an elastic strap used for luggage, held the half side of the waistband, then wrapped it around the injured side, finally securing it with the Velcro at the end of the elastic strap. Time passed, and noises came from outside the door. But it didn't sound like a rescue team. I listened intently to the noises outside. But the next moment, a heavy impact hit the door, sending shivers down my spine. As the banging continued, I nervously crawled backward, and Finian also drew his military knife, struggling to sit up. How sensitive was this pathogen-carrying zombie's sense of smell to find us like this? Fortunately, the warehouse door was sturdy. No matter how it was struck, the inside remained untouched. Eventually, we let it be. A day and a night passed. Finian drifted in and out of consciousness, waking and sleeping intermittently as a high fever started, and he began talking deliriously. Realizing something was wrong, I found frozen items to cool him down, then quickly gave him fever-reducing medicine, but ultimately, it was a temporary solution. Eventually, the fever medicine nearly stopped working. During this time, there was finally no more noise from outside. Had it gone? Just as I was about to secretly open the door to check, I suddenly found that the warehouse door was jammed shut. I frowned and pushed hard against it, but the door wouldn't budge, and I froze in place. Finian, who was unusually lucid at the moment, saw me struggling at the door and looked puzzled. "What's wrong? It seems like the zombies have blocked the door." "What?" I remembered something and turned back. "Right. Didn't I block you out before? How did you open it?" How else? I just used brute force." Now Finian was seriously injured and couldn't get up. Despite ramming the door over a dozen times, I only managed to hurt myself without budging the door. Eventually drained, I just lay down on the air mattress. "Finian, can we really rely on your fleet?" Finian, groggy, "Lay on the mattress too?" "Of course, but are you sure you contacted them? They claim to be the 7th Fleet and told me not to move." "Trust the government, they will come, they definitely will." On the third day, Finian's fever finally subsided, and he felt well enough to eat something. The warehouse was quite large and had a freezer unit at the back, but it had been without power for a long time, so most of the stored items were spoiled, and the area had become our makeshift restroom. By the 6th day of being locked in the warehouse, Finian started to feverishly babble again. My morale was at its lowest, holding a phone with no signal. I even started to believe that no one outside would ever find us. "Finian, we're not going to die here, are we?" "No, it's going to be all right. It will be okay." In his delirium, he reached out and patted my arm, as if even in his dreams he was trying to comfort me. In that moment, I lost all my strength, staring at the warehouse ceiling, feeling utterly exhausted. If I were to die here, would I open my eyes to find Felix beside me again? No, that can't happen, after surviving so much hardship. If I died and had to start all over again, what a loss that would be. I sat up and slapped Finian twice on the face. "Stay awake, wake up." The man I woke suddenly covered his face. "Are you even human, slapping me when I'm feverish? Don't sleep, Finian, the fleet will arrive soon. You must not sleep." "I can't, my head is spinning. Just let me sleep for a little while." "Finian, tell me about your fleet. How did you get in? How often do you guys get a vacation?" I don't know how many days Finian and I drifted in and out of consciousness. The warehouse door opened while we were half asleep. Realizing we were still alive, someone outside immediately shouted, "They're here, we found them." Epilogue. When I opened my eyes again, I was back home. It turned out that on the day I contacted the 7th Fleet, they had dispatched a team that found the diamond. While they didn't find us after inspecting the control room and finding the controller, they encountered the pathogen underground first. As the virus had already infiltrated the coastal cities of Country Sea, they didn't venture deeper but captured the pathogen with a stun gun to extract serum, and then took the controller to work on an antidote overnight. After the virus spread and Country Sea was fully contained, the fleet, realizing something was amiss, returned to the diamond for a thorough sweep and finally found us, barely alive, in the underground warehouse. Logically, with food and drink in my backpack, I shouldn't have succumbed so quickly, but the mental torture was the most painful part. Being confined in a dark, small space, even with adequate ventilation and provisions, would inevitably lead to problems over time. This time, the plan of Country M was a total failure. The pathogen had barely reached the port before it was contained. Later, when I was escorted out I heard a nurse mention that not just Finian, but 18 special agents had intercepted on their respective ships. Some directly blew up the pathogen containers, others stopped the cruise ship right in its tracks, and some even turned the ship around and headed back. A few agents died in the line of duty, sinking to the bottom of the sea with those things. The cruise ship Finian was on suffered tremendous losses, costing the lives of all the passengers on board. Fortunately, this ship was the only one equipped with the control agent. It could be said that if Country C were to fall into chaos, Finian would be its only savior. Thankfully, Finian successfully secured the control agent. As for us not receiving any rescue on the deserted island, it turned out we were in a signal jamming zone, so even satellites were blocked. It wasn't until we encountered a cruise ship that Finian's chip reappeared on the map. Everything on the cruise ship felt like a dream. And when I got home, everything seemed unchanged, yet everything had changed. I spent many days in a daze, unable to snap out of it. Seeing me leaning against the headboard again, my mother sighed and brought me a bowl of porridge. "Stop worrying, you're lucky you missed the ship. It's not your fault he went without waiting for you." Due to political reasons, the tragedy on the cruise ship was officially recorded as a maritime disaster. As a survivor, my name was wiped from the passenger list by the military. Thus, the version my parents knew was that Felix and I had a fallout. He boarded the ship by himself, and I missed it. Felix's parents, devastated, came to me in tears demanding answers, suspecting I had tricked them out of the dowry or wondering if there was any insurance money or compensation. But with so many lives lost on that ship, how could I possibly be responsible? Eventually, tired of their accusations, I pulled up records of Felix's infidelities from his computer, including hotel records with his lover, intimate photos, a pregnancy test result of the woman, and even a bank transfer of $300,000 to her. When all the evidence was laid before his parents, they were stunned. They had hoped to claim an inheritance, but our marital home was a welfare housing provided by our school and had nothing to do with Felix. Although Felix had savings of $200,000, his debts far exceeded this amount, mostly due to a failed investment with his lover, both of whom were now deceased, resulting in a significant financial loss. Whoever inherited would be inheriting debts. With my status officially changed to widowed, I returned to a single life. Knowing the impact this incident had on me, the school's administration expressed their concern and offered me some time off, which I declined. My mental state was fragile, and I feared that without keeping busy, I wouldn't recover for a long time. Since returning, I've never seen Finian again. We had no contact details for each other, and no one knew who he was. It's as if he never existed. I haven't spoken of this to anyone. After all, who would believe me? Then another summer came, and after a thunderstorm, the sky unexpectedly cleared. Late at night, I looked up and saw Antares, 550 light-years away. For a moment, I felt like I was back on that small boat, under the vast, silent starscape, as if we were the only two people in the universe. That's when I realized that such sights were visible even from the city. Thinking back to the time we knocked our heads together wildly on the boat, I laughed. Those double-wished shooting stars really did work. Having returned to single status, I applied to move back to a single dormitory. The one-bedroom was much smaller than the two-bedroom, but since I decided on the layout and decoration myself, the place felt more like home. By the third summer after being rescued, I had mostly moved on from the ordeal of the deserted island and cruise ship. On a hot afternoon, the cool breeze from the air conditioner made the classroom comfortably chilly as I lectured from the podium. The students below were all nodding off, nearly falling asleep right there and then. I was already used to this scene. Only by occasionally tapping the blackboard could I snap a few of them out of their drowsiness. Turn to page 84. If you fail the final exam this term, you'll be facing a retake. Don't say I didn't warn you. Though I said this, only a few were jolted awake. The afternoon in summer indeed induces sleepiness, and in the large classroom, aside from my voice, only the hum of the air conditioning could be heard. It was truly more conducive to sleep than a dormitory. Just then, I noticed a few girls in the back row leaning over the window looking outside. "What's going on, teacher?" "There's a handsome guy downstairs." This statement was like a bolt from the blue, instantly waking up all the girls in the class. Everyone stretched their necks to look down, and I immediately frowned. They weren't paying attention to the lesson, but they all woke up at the mention of a handsome guy. I put down my book and walked over to the window to look down. Beneath the shade of the trees in the midsummer heat, I saw a man in a black t-shirt leaning against a tree, enjoying a popsicle. The dappled sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting patterns on his scarred arms. Sensing someone watching from above, he slowly looked up. My breath quickened, and I immediately pushed the window open. In an instant, the oppressive heat mixed with the shrill cries of cicadas enveloped me. The once silent world burst into noise once again. Finian stood under the tree, shading his eyes with his hand to see it was me, then smiled and waved. "Giselle, our class is over, let's grab a bite," he called out.